The night the Nine Tails attacked, something extraordinary happened. As the fourth Hokage sealed the beast within his newborn son, a legendary soul stirred to life once more. What if Hashirama Senju's memories passed on? What if the God of Shinobi lived again in the most unlikely vessel?
The night air over Konoha hung heavy with tension. A full moon cast its pale light over the village, hidden in the leaves, but the usual serenity of the evening had been shattered by a presence that radiated malevolence. The nine-tailed fox, its massive form silhouetted against the night sky, unleashed a roar that sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened ninja. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, stood atop the head of a massive toad summon, his white cloak billowing in the wind. In his arms, he held his newborn son Naruto, whose cries were barely audible above the chaos of battle. Kushina Uzumaki's chakra chain struggled to restrain the beast as her life force ebbed away. "I'm sorry, Naruto," Minato whispered, his voice breaking as he prepared the complex sealing jutsu that would bind the Nine Tails to his son. "I wish there was another way." As the fourth Hokage's hands moved through the final seals, something unexpected happened. The baby, merely hours old, suddenly became silent. His tiny eyes, previously squeezed shut in distress, opened, revealing not the innocent gaze of a newborn, but something ancient and knowing. For the briefest moment, Minato felt a familiar chakra signature emanate from his son, warm, powerful, and impossibly old. The sensation reminded him of stories he'd heard about the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. Before he could process this anomaly, the Death Reaper seal activated, and Minato completed his final act to save the village. As the Nine Tails was sealed within Naruto, the beast's consciousness registered something that would haunt it for years to come: the unmistakable presence of its oldest adversary, the only human who had ever truly dominated it through sheer force of will. "Impossible," the Nine Tails growled as it was pulled into the seal. "Hashirama?" Hiruzen Sarutobi, reinstated as the third Hokage following Minato's sacrifice, stood over the crib containing the newly orphaned Naruto. The infant slept peacefully despite the chaos that had marked his birth just days earlier. "What will become of you, little one?" Hiruzen murmured, his weathered hand gently touching the boy's cheek. As if responding to his touch, tiny green shoots suddenly sprouted from the wooden crib, curling around Naruto's small form like protective tendrils. Hiruzen stepped back, his eyes widening in shock. "It can't be," he whispered. He placed his palm near the infant, sensing the child's chakra. Beneath the chaotic, wild energy of the Nine Tails, there was something else, something hauntingly familiar. A chakra signature he hadn't felt in decades, but would recognize anywhere. "Hashirama-sensei?" The shoots receded as quickly as they had appeared, and Naruto returned to his peaceful slumber, unaware of the profound implications of what had just occurred. Hiruzen straightened, his mind racing. If what he suspected was true, the implications were staggering. He would need to take special precautions with this child, both to protect him and to understand the mystery of his apparent connection to the first Hokage. "Your life will not be easy, Naruto," the third Hokage said softly. "But if my suspicions are correct, you may be more prepared for the challenges ahead than anyone could have anticipated." The years passed, and Naruto grew under the distant but watchful eye of the third Hokage. Despite Hiruzen's best intentions, the village's knowledge of the Nine Tails sealing had led to widespread fear and mistrust of the boy. Yet Naruto carried himself with a peculiar dignity that seemed at odds with his circumstances. By age 5, incidents of spontaneous wood growth had occurred often enough that Hiruzen assigned Anbu guards to monitor the child constantly. One such incident occurred at the village orphanage, where Naruto had lived since birth. "Monster!" a caretaker had shouted, having discovered Naruto quietly reading a scroll on village history that he had somehow obtained, a scroll meant for academy students years older. As the woman raised her hand to strike him, wooden branches erupted from the floor, forming a protective dome around the boy. The caretaker fell back in terror, and by the time Anbu arrived, Naruto had dispersed the wood, looking more confused than frightened. "I didn't mean to," he explained to the masked shinobi, his blue eyes reflecting a wisdom far beyond his years. "But she was going to hurt me, and something inside just knew what to do. That evening, Hiruzen Sarutobi made a decision. He relocated Naruto to a small apartment of his own, reasoning that fewer interactions with hostile villagers might mean fewer incidents to conceal. But the truth was becoming harder to hide. This child possessed abilities that had not been seen since the founding of the village. At age 7, Naruto walked through the forest outside Konoha, having slipped away from his ambush shadows, something he found increasingly easy to do. He discovered that nature seemed to welcome him, trees shifting slightly to provide cover, and wildlife falling silent to mask his movements. He sat cross-legged in a clearing, placing his small palms against the earth. His eyes closed in concentration, and slowly, wooden roots began to emerge from the ground, twisting and growing until they formed a perfect replica of the Hokage Tower. "I remember building the original," Naruto murmured to himself, then paused, startled by his own words. "But that's not right. I've never built anything." These moments of disconnection had been increasing. Memories that couldn't possibly be his own, knowledge of techniques he'd never been taught, and a deep, abiding love for a Konoha that existed long before his birth. "Who am I?" he whispered to the forest. The trees seemed to sway in response, and deep within his mind, the nine-tails stirred uneasily in its cage, disturbed by the familiar chakra that increasingly permeated its prison. By the time Naruto entered the academy at 8 years old, Hiruzen had made the difficult decision to classify all information regarding the boy's unusual abilities. Only a select few, Kakashi Hatake, Jiraiya when he occasionally returned to the village, and a small contingent of trusted Anbu, knew the full extent of what Naruto could do. "I don't understand why I have to pretend, old man," Naruto said during one of his regular visits to the Hokage's office. He sat with perfect posture, his hands folded in his lap, in a manner reminiscent of a diplomat rather than a child. "The village fears what it doesn't understand, Naruto," Hiruzen explained. "The wood release was unique to the First Hokage. If people were to discover that you possess it, combined with the nine tails sealed within you, they would see me as a weapon," Naruto finished, nodding thoughtfully, "or a threat." Hiruzen studied the boy carefully. "Yes, how did you come to that conclusion?" Naruto's eyes seemed to cloud momentarily. "I just understand how people think about power, how fear can turn even good people against each other." He looked up, a sad smile on his young face. "I've seen it before somehow." The third Hokage suppressed a shiver. In moments like these, it was almost as if Hashirama himself were speaking through the boy. Contrary to Hiruzen's instructions to blend in, Naruto's time at the academy proved challenging in unexpected ways. Despite his best efforts to restrain his natural abilities, his innate understanding of chakra control and shinobi principles made him stand out. "Naruto, could you demonstrate the transformation technique for the class?" Iruka Umino asked during a lesson. Naruto stepped forward, forming the hand seal with practiced ease. A perfect transformation into the third Hokage appeared, not just in appearance but in the subtle details, the exact way Hiruzen held his pipe, the particular weathered look in his eyes, even the faint scent of tobacco that surrounded him. "That's remarkable," Iruka said, clearly impressed. "You can release the jutsu now." Naruto dispelled the transformation, returning to his normal appearance. "How did you capture so many details?" Iruka asked. Naruto shrugged, trying to appear casual. "I spend a lot of time with the old man. I just noticed things." But the truth was more complex. When performing jutsu, Naruto found himself drawing on muscle memory and chakra control techniques that felt as natural as breathing, yet they were clearly beyond what an academy student should possess. Later that day, as the students practiced throwing shuriken, Sasuke Uchiha approached Naruto. "You're holding back," the young Uchiha said bluntly. "Why?" Naruto regarded Sasuke with interest. The Uchiha prodigy was perceptive, another quality Naruto found himself appreciating on a level that seemed beyond his years. "We're all learning, Sasuke," Naruto replied diplomatically. "None of us is showing everything we can do." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "That's not what I meant. You move like you've been training for decades, but you pretend to struggle with basic techniques." Naruto smiled slightly. "Maybe we all have our secrets." The Uchiha boy stared at him for a long moment. "I'm going to figure yours out, Uzumaki." As Sasuke walked away, Naruto felt a strange mixture of emotions. Concern at being discovered, but also a peculiar fondness, as if he recognized something in the Uchiha boy that reminded him of someone else. Someone important. As the years at the academy progressed, Naruto developed a carefully crafted persona, the appearance of a struggling student who occasionally showed flashes of brilliance. This balancing act allowed him to neither stand out as a prodigy nor fall behind his peers. But maintaining this facade took its toll, particularly as his instincts and abilities continued to develop. During a history lesson on the founding of Konoha, Naruto found himself correcting his instructor before he could stop himself. Actually, he interrupted as the teacher described the First Hokage's battle with Madara Uchiha at the Valley of the End. Hashirama didn't want to fight at all. He offered peace multiple times during the battle, even after Madara summoned the Nine Tails. The classroom fell silent. The instructor frowned. "That's not in our textbooks, Naruto." "It's..." Naruto faltered, suddenly aware of his mistake. "Something the old man told me once. Sorry for interrupting." But the damage was done. Students whispered, and word eventually reached Iruka, who mentioned the incident to the Hokage. That evening, Hiruzen visited Naruto's apartment. "You need to be more careful," he admonished gently. "These slips are becoming more frequent." Naruto sat at his small dining table, a half-eaten bowl of ramen before him. "I know. It's just, sometimes the memories feel so real. I see things so clearly, the founding of the village, the battles, the treaties." He looked up at Hiruzen, his eyes showing a vulnerability rare for the usually composed boy. "Am I going crazy, old man?" Hiruzen sat across from him, his expression grave. "No, Naruto. I believe what you're experiencing is real. I've consulted with Jiraiya about this, and we have a theory." He paused, weighing his words carefully. "Have you ever heard of reincarnation?" Naruto nodded slowly. "The rebirth of a soul in a new body." "Yes. We believe that somehow you carry within you not just the Nine Tails, but also the spirit, or at least the chakra and memories of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage." Naruto sat very still, absorbing this information. That would explain the wood release and the memories. "Yes, it would." Hiruzen studied the boy carefully. "How does this make you feel?" For a long moment, Naruto was silent. Then he looked up, his eyes clear and determined. "Like I have a responsibility. Hashirama wanted peace more than anything. He built this village to end the constant warfare between clans." A small, wooden sprout emerged from the table, growing into a perfect miniature of the Hokage monument as Naruto spoke. "If I have his power, then I also have his duty to protect what he built." Hiruzen felt a profound sense of relief and concern simultaneously. Relief that Naruto was accepting this burden with such maturity, and concern for the weight now placed on such young shoulders. "We will continue to keep this secret for now," the third Hokage said. "But soon, you'll graduate from the academy, and concealing your abilities will become more difficult." Naruto nodded, his expression serious. "I understand. When the time comes, I'll be ready." The night before the graduation exam, Naruto sat in meditation on the floor of his apartment. His connection to the natural energy around him had grown stronger over the years, and he found that this practice helped him sort through the increasingly frequent memories and knowledge that surfaced in his mind. Within the seal, the Nine Tails watched with growing unease. The beast had long ago recognized the chakra that intermingled with its hosts, but had refused to acknowledge it directly. Tonight, however, as Naruto's consciousness brushed against the seal during his meditation, the fox finally spoke. "So, you've returned, Hashirama," the Nine Tails growled from behind the massive gates. "Come to torment me again?" Naruto opened his eyes to find himself standing before the cage. Unlike previous encounters where fear or confusion had dominated his reactions, tonight he felt a calm recognition. "Kurama," he said, using the Nine Tails' true name without consciously knowing how he knew it. The fox's eyes widened slightly before narrowing in anger. "So it is you. How is this possible?" "I'm not entirely Hashirama," Naruto replied, approaching the cage without fear. "But I carry his memories, his chakra, his will." "And what do you intend to do with them, boy?" Kurama snarled. "Control me as he did?" Naruto shook his head. "No. Hashirama respected you, even as he fought you. He never saw you as just a weapon or a beast." He placed a hand against one of the bars. "Neither do I." The Ninetales recoiled slightly, suspicious of this unexpected approach. Pretty words, but you humans are all the same in the end. Maybe not all of us, Naruto said softly. I remember how it was before the village system, when the Senju and Uchiha were at war, endless cycles of hatred and revenge. His blue eyes met the fox's red ones. I don't want to control you, Kurama. Eventually, I hope we can be partners. The Ninetales laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Partners? With a human? You're as idealistic as he was. Maybe, Naruto conceded with a small smile. But his idealism built the greatest shinobi village in history and ended centuries of clan warfare. For a moment, the fox seemed to consider his words. Then it turned away, curling its massive tails around itself. Get out of here, boy. I have no interest in your dreams of partnership. As Naruto's consciousness withdrew from the seal, he felt a strange certainty that this conversation, however contentious, marked the beginning of something important. The day of graduation arrived, and Naruto performed exactly as planned, competent enough to pass, but not so exceptional as to draw unwanted attention. When it came time to demonstrate the clone jutsu, however, he faced a dilemma. His enormous chakra reserves, combined with the disruptive influence of the Ninetales, made this basic technique particularly difficult for him. In previous practice sessions, he'd compensated with his exceptional chakra control, a gift from Hashirama's influence. But today, with the pressure of the examination, he found his control slipping. Naruto Uzumaki, Iruka called. Please demonstrate the clone jutsu. Naruto stepped forward, formed the hand seals, and concentrated. 3 perfect clones appeared beside him. Iruka nodded approvingly, making a note on his clipboard. What he didn't see was that these weren't standard illusionary clones at all, but solid wood clones that Naruto had instinctively created, their surfaces transformed to look like normal flesh. After receiving his headband, Naruto sat alone on the swing outside the academy, watching as families congratulated their children. Despite his successful graduation, a melancholy settled over him, a feeling that seemed to come from both his own loneliness and Hashirama's memories of what the village was meant to be. Congratulations, Naruto, came a voice. Mizuki, one of the academy instructors, approached with a friendly smile. I was impressed with your performance today. Thank you, Mizuki-sensei, Naruto replied, immediately sensing something off about the man's demeanor. Years of diplomatic memories from Hashirama had made him adept at reading people's intentions. You know, Mizuki continued, lowering his voice conspiratorially, there's a special test for promising graduates, a chance to fast-track to higher ranks. Naruto listened as Mizuki explained his plan to steal the scroll of sealing, immediately recognizing it as treachery. But rather than confront Mizuki directly, Naruto saw an opportunity to understand who might be manipulating the instructor. That sounds amazing, Naruto said, feigning enthusiasm. When should I get the scroll? As Mizuki detailed the plan, Naruto was already formulating his own strategy, one that would expose the plot without endangering the village or the sacred scroll. That night, instead of stealing the actual scroll of sealing, Naruto created an elaborate wood clone transformed to look like both himself and the scroll. Meanwhile, he informed the third Hokage of Mizuki's plot. You were right to come to me, Hiruzen said, but this is an opportunity to discover if Mizuki is working alone or with accomplices. My thoughts exactly, Naruto replied. My wood clone will meet him as planned. It can sustain significant damage before dispelling, and it will relay all information back to me when it does. Hiruzen regarded the young graduate with a mixture of pride and concern. You're thinking like a seasoned shinobi, Naruto. In some ways I am, Naruto said quietly. As predicted, Mizuki appeared in the forest clearing where Naruto's clone waited with the fake scroll. But before he could attack, another presence arrived, Iruka, who had noticed suspicious activity and followed. Naruto, what are you doing with that scroll? Iruka demanded. He's being a useful idiot, Mizuki laughed, revealing his true intentions to both of them. But now that you're here, Iruka, I'll have to kill you both. What followed was not the desperate battle that might have occurred with the real Naruto at his current level. Instead, the wood clone displayed fighting capabilities far beyond a fresh graduate. As Mizuki launched a massive shuriken, wooden branches erupted from the clone's body, capturing the weapon mid-flight. What the? Mizuki gasped, his eyes widening in shock. You betrayed the village, the clone stated calmly, extending its arm as branches shot forward, wrapping around Mizuki and restraining him completely. And worse, you tried to manipulate a child into doing your dirty work. Iruka stood frozen, stunned by the display of a legendary technique thought lost to Konoha. Before more could be revealed, Anbu descended into the clearing, taking the restrained Mizuki into custody. In the confusion, Naruto's wood clone discreetly dispelled itself, leaving behind only a very confused Iruka and a pile of wooden restraints holding Mizuki. The real Naruto, monitoring from nearby, received all the memories from his clone and frowned thoughtfully. Mizuki had mentioned a master who would reward him for the scroll, information that Naruto immediately related to the Hokage. This suggests an external threat, Hiruzen said gravely when Naruto reported back. Someone with significant power and knowledge of the village is recruiting from within. The timing concerns me, Naruto replied. With Genin assignments approaching, this could be an attempt to disrupt the next generation of shinobi. Hiruzen nodded slowly. Your insight serves you well, Naruto. But now we face another challenge. Iruka witnessed your wood clone's abilities. Perhaps it's time to begin revealing the truth, Naruto suggested. Selectively, at least, we'll need trusted allies in the days to come. The following morning, Naruto was summoned to the Hokage's office, where he found Iruka waiting alongside Hiruzen. Naruto, Iruka began, his voice a mixture of confusion and awe. What I saw last night? That was wood release, wasn't it? Naruto glanced at the Hokage, who nodded slightly. Yes, Iruka-sensei, Naruto confirmed. I've had this ability for as long as I can remember. But that's impossible, Iruka said. The wood release died with the first Hokage. Even his descendants haven't manifested it. Naruto's case is unique, Hiruzen explained carefully. We believe he carries within him not just the Nine Tails, but also the reincarnated will and chakra of Hashirama Senju. Iruka sank into a chair, struggling to process this revelation. All these years at the academy, you were holding back, Naruto nodded. I had to. The old man and I agreed it was safer that way. Iruka, Hiruzen said seriously. This information is classified as an S-rank secret. The implications for the village and for Naruto's safety are profound. I understand, Iruka replied, looking at his former student with new eyes. But what happens now? He's about to be assigned to a Genin team. I've given this considerable thought, the Hokage said. Naruto will be placed on Team 7 under Kakashi Hatake, who is already aware of his unique situation. The team will also include Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Naruto's expression remained neutral, but inwardly, a strange sense of destiny settled over him. The placement with the last loyal Uchiha seemed fitting somehow, as if history were aligning itself for a second chance. I won't let you down, old man, Naruto promised. Or you, Iruka-sensei. As he left the Hokage Tower, Naruto felt a weight lifting. Soon he would no longer need to hide his true abilities. Soon he could begin to fulfill the purpose that seemed increasingly clear to him. To protect the village that Hashirama had sacrificed so much to create, and to forge a path toward the peace that both Hashirama and Naruto himself longed to see. The day of team assignments arrived, and Naruto sat quietly in the classroom, observing his peers with a perspective that spanned generations. These children would be the future of the village, a thought that filled him with both hope and concern. When Iruka announced Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha, under Jonin instructor Kakashi Hatake, Naruto noted the balance of the team with approval. The arrangement had clearly been planned with his unique situation in mind. As they waited for their chronically late sensei, Naruto took the opportunity to study his teammates more closely. Sakura, with her keen intelligence and perfect chakra control, reminded him of the medical nin Hashirama had worked with during the village's founding. And Sasuke, the young Uchiha, carried himself with the same pride and barely contained fire that Naruto recognized from Hashirama's memories of Madara. He's late, Sakura complained, pacing near the door. All the other teams have already left with their senseis. Sasuke sat with his fingers interlaced before his face, occasionally glancing at Naruto with thinly veiled suspicion. Since the Mizuki incident, rumors had circulated about Naruto's involvement, though the details remained classified. He'll come, Naruto said simply, leaning back in his chair. Kakashi Hake has a reputation for tardiness, but also for excellence. Sakura turned to him, surprised. How do you know that? Naruto smiled slightly. I pay attention to the shinobi of our village, particularly someone as distinguished as the copy ninja. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. There you go again, talking like you're decades older than us. Before Naruto could respond, the classroom door slid open, and Kakashi poked his head in, his single visible eye assessing the three genin. My first impression of you? You're an interesting bunch, he said lazily. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. On the rooftop, Kakashi leaned against the railing, studying his new team. Let's begin with introductions. Names, likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams for the future. Sakura went first, her introduction focusing primarily on her obvious crush on Sasuke. The Uchiha followed with a somber declaration of his ambition to kill a certain someone and restore his clan. When Naruto's turn came, he considered his words carefully. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like gardening and architecture. I dislike conflict that arises from misunderstanding and prejudice. My hobby is studying the history of the shinobi world and the relationships between villages. He paused, looking directly at Kakashi. My dream is to fulfill the original vision for Konoha, a place where children don't have to die in battle and where peace is maintained through understanding rather than force. A heavy silence followed his words. Sakura looked confused, Sasuke suspicious, and Kakashi thoughtful. Well, you're certainly each unique, the Jonin said finally. Tomorrow we'll have our first mission together. Actually, it's a survival exercise. Meet at Training Ground 3 at 5 a.m. Oh, and don't eat breakfast. You'll throw up. As Kakashi disappeared in a swirl of leaves, Sakura turned to her teammates. A survival exercise? But we already did those at the academy. This will be different, Naruto said, rising to his feet. It's a real test to determine if we're worthy of being Genin. What do you mean? Sakura asked. The academy graduation only identifies candidates for Genin status, Naruto explained. Each Jonin instructor conducts their own test to select the students they'll actually train. The failure rate is typically around 66%. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. And how exactly do you know that? Naruto met his gaze steadily. Let's just say I've had access to information most academy students don't. As they parted ways, Naruto felt Kakashi's presence lingering nearby, observing. The copy ninja had clearly been briefed about Naruto's unique situation, but was reserving judgment until he saw the boy in action. Tomorrow would be revealing for all of them. The next morning, Naruto arrived at Training Ground 3 precisely at 5 a.m., fully aware that Kakashi wouldn't appear for several hours. He found Sasuke already waiting, while Sakura arrived moments later, yawning and looking tired. Good morning, Naruto greeted them cheerfully, despite having ignored Kakashi's instruction not to eat breakfast. His memories from Hashirama included enough military experience to recognize that fighting on an empty stomach was tactically unsound. You seem awfully cheerful for someone who's about to be tested, Sasuke remarked coldly. Tests are opportunities to learn and grow, Naruto replied, settling into a comfortable seated position beneath a tree. And I suspect this particular test will teach us more about teamwork than individual combat skills. Sakura looked at him curiously. What makes you say that? Konoha was founded on the principle that shinobi are stronger together than alone, Naruto explained. Every aspect of our training reinforces this idea, from the three-man squad system to the village structure itself. That's actually a good point, Sakura admitted, sitting down near him. But how do you know so much about the village's founding? They barely covered it in the academy. Naruto smiled enigmatically. I've always been interested in history. 3 hours later, when Kakashi finally arrived with a casual excuse about getting lost on the path of life, Naruto was ready. The Jonin explained the bell test, showing 2 small bells attached to his waist. You have until noon to take these bells from me, Kakashi said. Whoever doesn't get a bell fails and returns to the academy. As Sakura protested the unfairness of having only 2 bells for 3 people, Naruto observed Kakashi carefully. The true purpose of this test was clear to him. It was designed to pit them against each other, to see if they would recognize the value of teamwork despite the apparent competition. Begin, Kakashi announced, and immediately Sasuke and Sakura disappeared into the surrounding forest to hide and plan their attacks. Naruto, however, remained standing before the Jonin. "You know, most genin at least try to hide," Kakashi remarked, pulling out his infamous orange book. "Hiding would defeat the purpose of what I need to say," Naruto replied calmly. "This test is about teamwork, isn't it? Despite the deliberate shortage of bells designed to turn us against each other." Kakashi's visible eye widened slightly before returning to its usual lazy expression. "An interesting theory." "Not a theory," Naruto said confidently. "It's the founding principle of Konoha. None of us is as strong as all of us together." The First Hokage said that when establishing the village's shinobi system. Kakashi lowered his book slightly. "You're well informed for a fresh graduate." "Perhaps," Naruto acknowledged with a slight smile. "But now, I need to convince my teammates of this truth." Before Kakashi could respond, Naruto placed his palm against the ground. Instantly, wooden roots spread outward, racing across the training ground toward the hidden positions of Sasuke and Sakura. Moments later, both genin were deposited before Kakashi and Naruto, encased in wooden restraints up to their necks. "What the?" Sasuke sputtered, his eyes wide with shock. "How did you?" "Wood release," Sakura whispered, staring at Naruto in disbelief. "But that's impossible!" Kakashi put away his book, his full attention now on the blonde genin. "Well, this is unexpected. I was told you might reveal your abilities, but not quite so dramatically. Listen carefully," Naruto addressed his teammates, releasing the wood restraints, but creating a dome around all four of them to prevent escape or eavesdropping. "This test isn't about individual strength or capturing bells. It's about recognizing that as a team, we're stronger than any of us alone." "That doesn't explain whatever this is," Sasuke said, gesturing at the wooden dome surrounding them. "I'll explain everything later," Naruto promised. "But right now, we need to work together to pass this test. Are you with me?" Sakura looked uncertain, while Sasuke's expression remained skeptical. But after a moment, both nodded reluctantly. "Good," Naruto said, turning to Kakashi. "Sensei, we understand the true purpose of this test, and we're ready to demonstrate that understanding." What followed was a coordinated assault that left Kakashi genuinely impressed. Naruto's wood techniques provided both offensive pressure and strategic support, allowing Sasuke's fire jutsu and combat skills to be employed with maximum effect, while Sakura's intelligence directed their movements with surprising tactical acumen. By the time the bells jingled in Naruto's hand, Kakashi had seen enough to make his decision. "You pass," he announced. "All of you. Team 7 is officially formed." As they celebrated this victory, Sasuke fixed Naruto with an intense stare. "You have a lot of explaining to do." "Yes," Naruto agreed solemnly. "I do." Later that afternoon, at Naruto's request, the third Hokage summoned Team 7 to his office. It was time for certain truths to be revealed. "What I'm about to share with you is classified as an S-rank secret," Hiruzen began, his gaze moving between Sasuke and Sakura. "Naruto has agreed that you, as his teammates, deserve to know, but this information cannot go beyond this room." Both genin nodded, their expressions serious. "Naruto possesses the wood-release Kekkei Genkai," the Hokage continued, "a ability thought lost since the time of the First Hokage. We believe this is because, in some way we don't fully understand, Naruto carries within him not just the nine-tailed fox, but also the reincarnated chakra and consciousness of Hashirama Senju." The room fell silent. Sakura's eyes widened in shock, while Sasuke's narrowed in disbelief. "That's absurd," the Uchiha finally said. "Reincarnation? Do you expect us to believe that?" "I don't expect belief without evidence," Naruto replied calmly. He formed a single-hand seal, and a small tree grew from the wooden floor, blossoming with flowers that hadn't been seen in Konoha since the First Hokage's time. "But this Kekkei Genkai hasn't manifested in anyone else, despite numerous attempts to replicate it." "There's more," Hiruzen added. "Naruto possesses memories and knowledge that he couldn't possibly have acquired in his lifetime. Details about the founding of the village, diplomatic relationships that were never recorded, fighting techniques that died with Hashirama." Kakashi, who had been leaning against the wall, spoke up. "I've tested some of this knowledge." He described to me the exact layout of the original Hokage Tower, details that match historical records that aren't available to the public. Sakura looked at Naruto with newfound awe. "So all this time at the academy, I was hiding my abilities, yes," Naruto confirmed. On the Hokage's orders for my safety in the villages. Sasuke remained silent, processing this information with a complex mixture of emotions playing across his features. I'm telling you this now because we're a team, Naruto continued, addressing his teammates directly. And teams function best with trust and understanding. I don't expect you to fully accept or understand this immediately, but I hope that with time, you'll see that my goals align with what's best for the village and for all of us. And what exactly are your goals? Sasuke finally asked, his voice carefully controlled. Naruto met his gaze steadily. To protect Konoha, to build lasting peace between the shinobi villages, and to help each of you achieve your own potential. He paused, looking directly at Sasuke. Including finding better answers than revenge, Sasuke. The Uchiha tensed, but before he could retort, Hiruzen intervened. That's enough for today. Team 7 will begin regular missions tomorrow. I suggest you use this time to adjust to your new understanding of one another. As they filed out of the office, Sakura turned to Naruto, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial shock. So, do you actually remember being the first Hokage? What was it like back then? How many techniques can you use? Naruto smiled at her enthusiasm. The memories come in fragments, usually when I need them. And yes, I remember quite a lot about those times. Perhaps I can share some stories during our missions. Sasuke walked slightly apart from them, his thoughts turned inward. The revelation about Naruto had implications for his own path, implications he wasn't yet ready to confront. Kakashi observed his team with cautious optimism. This unusual dynamic would either forge them into something extraordinary or tear them apart. Only time would tell which outcome would prevail. The following weeks were filled with D-rank missions that tested Team 7's patience more than their skills. Chasing lost cats, weeding gardens, and painting fences did little to challenge a team that included an Uchiha prodigy, a kunoichi with perfect chakra control, and the reincarnation of the First Hokage. During a particularly tedious mission to clean the river, Sakura paused in her work to watch Naruto, who was using subtle wood manipulation to gather debris efficiently. It's still hard to believe, she said to Kakashi, who was supervising from the riverbank, his nose buried in his book, that he's really the reincarnation of Hashirama? Kakashi finished, glancing up briefly. Yes and no. He has Hashirama's memories and abilities, but he's still Naruto, with his own personality and experiences shaping who he is. Nearby, Sasuke worked silently, though his occasional glances toward Naruto betrayed his continued interest in his teammate's unusual situation. I think we're ready for more challenging missions, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto called from the river, having overheard their conversation. These D-ranks aren't utilizing our capabilities effectively. Kakashi eye smiled. Is that the Genin talking, or the former Hokage? Both, Naruto replied with a grin. Even new shinobi need real-world experience to grow. Later that day, Team 7 stood before the third Hokage in the mission assignment room, having completed their river cleaning task. We'd like to request a C-rank mission, Kakashi stated, surprising the mission desk workers. Iruka, who was assisting with assignments, frowned. Kakashi, they've only been Genin for a few weeks. The standard protocol is at least 8 weeks of D-rank missions before. I believe they're ready, Kakashi interrupted mildly, particularly given the unique composition of this team. Hiruzen studied them thoughtfully, his pipe sending lazy curls of smoke toward the ceiling. Very well. I happen to have a suitable C-rank mission, an escort assignment to the Land of Waves. Moments later, Tazuna, a gray-haired bridge builder with a distinct smell of alcohol about him, entered the room. He surveyed Team 7 with obvious disappointment. These are the ninja who'll protect me? They're just a bunch of snot-nosed kids. His gaze settled on Naruto, especially the short one with the stupid face. Naruto merely smiled, unbothered by the insult. Through Hashirama's memories, he had dealt with far more difficult clients and diplomats. I assure you, Tazuna-san, we're more capable than we appear, he said politely. Your safety is our priority, and we won't let you down. The bridge builder seemed taken aback by the mature response, while Sakura and Sasuke exchanged glances, still adjusting to the moments when Naruto's diplomatic training shone through. We'll depart tomorrow morning, Kakashi announced. Pack for at least 2 weeks and be at the main gate at 7 a.m. As they left the Hokage Tower, Naruto fell into step beside Sasuke. "This will be our first real test as a team," he said quietly. "Humph. Escorting a drunk bridge builder? Hardly seems challenging," Sasuke replied. "Sometimes the simplest missions conceal the greatest complications," Naruto said. "I have a feeling there's more to this assignment than we've been told." Sasuke glanced at him. "Another one of your first Hokage insights?" "No," Naruto admitted. "Just experience with people. Tazuna is hiding something. The question is what and why." The journey to the Land of Waves began uneventfully, but Naruto remained alert, sensing that something was amiss. His suspicions were confirmed when two Chunin-level ninja emerged from a puddle on the road, a puddle that shouldn't have existed given the recent dry weather. As the attackers wrapped their poison chain around Kakashi, seemingly tearing him apart, Naruto remained calm. He had sensed Kakashi's substitution jutsu and knew their sensei was nearby, watching to assess their reactions. The demon brothers turned their attention to Tazuna next, but before they could reach him, wooden pillars erupted from the ground, entrapping them completely. "Wood release, smothering binding technique," Naruto stated calmly, his hand extended toward the captured ninja. Sasuke, who had been preparing to engage, stopped mid-motion, looking irritated at being preempted. Sakura, meanwhile, had positioned herself protectively in front of Tazuna, kunai at the ready. Kakashi reappeared, eyeing the wooden prison with approval. "Good work, Naruto, though perhaps a bit showy for a simple capture." "It seemed the most efficient solution," Naruto replied. He turned to Tazuna, his expression serious. "These ninja were targeting you specifically, Tazuna-san. I believe it's time you told us the truth about this mission." Under the combined pressure of Team 7's scrutiny, Tazuna confessed the real situation in the Land of Waves, how the shipping magnate Gado had taken control of the country's economy and was terrorizing its people. The bridge Tazuna was building represented hope for breaking Gado's stranglehold, making the builder a primary target for assassination. "This is at least a B-rank mission, possibly A rank given the likely involvement of more skilled ninja," Kakashi said seriously. "Well beyond the parameters of the C rank we accepted." "We should continue," Naruto said firmly. "The people of Wave need this bridge, and they need protection from Gado's tyranny." "This isn't our concern," Sasuke argued. "The mission parameters were falsified. Sometimes our duty extends beyond the strict interpretation of mission parameters," Naruto countered, echoing Hashirama's philosophy. "The will of fire isn't just about protecting Konoha, but about standing up for those who cannot stand for themselves." Kakashi studied his students thoughtfully. "This should be a team decision. Sakura, what do you think?" The pink-haired Kunoichi bit her lip, considering. "It's dangerous, but I agree with Naruto. We can't just abandon these people when they need help." 3 against 1, Kakashi sighed, turning to Sasuke. "Looks like we're continuing the mission." The Uchiha crossed his arms, frowning. "Fine, but if we're facing Jonin-level opponents, we'll need a better strategy than just capturing them in wooden cages." "Indeed," Naruto agreed, "which is why I suggest we use this opportunity to fully integrate our abilities. No more holding back." The mist rolled in thick and heavy as Team 7 and Tazuna crossed the narrow strait to the Land of Waves by boat. Naruto sat quietly at the bow, his senses extended into the surroundings, monitoring for threats. "You seem concerned?" Kakashi observed, moving to sit beside his student. "The demon brothers were Chunin level," Naruto replied softly. "Their failure means Gado will send someone stronger next time, likely a Jonin." "Your assessment matches mine," Kakashi agreed. "Are you prepared for that level of combat?" Naruto's eyes reflected a wisdom far beyond his years. "My body has the limitations of a 12-year-old, but my mind remembers fighting during the Warring States period. I'll manage." When they reached the shore and continued their journey on foot, the mist grew thicker, unnatural in its density and persistence. Naruto sensed the danger moments before it materialized. "Down!" he shouted, dropping to the ground just as a massive sword sliced through the air where they had been standing, embedding itself in a nearby tree. A figure appeared atop the sword, a tall, muscular man with bandages covering the lower half of his face and a slashed kirigakure headband. Zabuza Momochi, Kakashi identified him, pushing up his headband to reveal his Sharingan eye, the demon of the hidden mist. "Kakashi of the Sharingan," Zabuza replied, his voice deep and menacing. No wonder the demon brothers failed, but your luck ends here. As a thick mist enveloped them, reducing visibility to near zero, Naruto remained calm. He formed a hand seal, and the ground beneath them subtly changed, thin wooden roots spreading outward, creating a sensory network that allowed him to track movement through vibrations. Sasuke, Sakura, Manji formation around Tazuna, he instructed quietly. I'll extend my sensory grid to give us awareness beyond the mist. Zabuza's killing intent permeated the mist, causing Sasuke to tense with fear. Naruto placed a reassuring hand on his teammate's shoulder. Breathe, he advised. This technique is designed to paralyze with fear. Focus on protecting Tazuna and trust in our teamwork. The battle that followed was intense. Kakashi engaged Zabuza directly, while Naruto maintained their sensory advantage through his wood techniques. When Zabuza managed to trap Kakashi in a water prison, Naruto acted decisively. Wood release, great forest technique, he called, extending his arm as it transformed into a mass of wooden branches that shot toward the water's surface. Zabuza was forced to release the water prison to avoid being impaled, freeing Kakashi. As the copy ninja prepared to finish the battle, 2 senbon needles suddenly struck Zabuza in the neck, apparently killing him. A masked hunter nin appeared, claiming to be from Kirigakure's tracker unit. Thank you for your assistance. I've been hunting Zabuza for a long time. As the hunter nin moved to collect Zabuza's body, Naruto's eyes narrowed in suspicion. Wait, he called. Hunter nin typically dispose of the body on the spot. The masked ninja hesitated only briefly before grabbing Zabuza's body and disappearing in a swirl of wind and leaves. That was no hunter nin, Naruto stated as Kakashi collapsed from chakra exhaustion. That was an accomplice. Agreed, Kakashi managed before losing consciousness. Zabuza is still alive. At Tazuna's house, as Kakashi recovered from chakra exhaustion, Team 7 gathered to plan their next move. Naruto stood by the window, gazing out at the impoverished village with a troubled expression. Zabuza will need about a week to recover from his death-like state, he informed the others. We should use this time to prepare. How do you suggest we do that? Sasuke asked, his initial skepticism about Naruto gradually giving way to a reluctant respect. Training! Naruto replied simply. Specifically, chakra control exercises that will benefit each of us according to our current abilities. Over the following days, while Kakashi rested, Naruto led Sasuke and Sakura in tree climbing and water walking exercises. Sakura, with her naturally excellent chakra control, mastered these quickly, while Sasuke struggled initially but improved rapidly through determined practice. During a break, Sakura approached Naruto as he sat meditating beside a small tree he had grown. Naruto, she began hesitantly, I've been meaning to ask, what was it like, living during the founding of Konoha? Naruto opened his eyes, a small smile playing on his lips. It was both simpler and more complicated than now. Simpler because the objectives were clear. Survive, protect your clan, defeat your enemies. Life more complicated because those enemies were often people you might have called friends under different circumstances. Like the Uchiha? Sakura asked, glancing toward Sasuke, who was still practicing his tree climbing some distance away. Yes, Naruto nodded. The Senju and Uchiha were bitter enemies for generations before they became the foundation of Konoha. Hashirama and Madara were actually friends as children before they learned of each other's clan identities. That's so sad, Sakura said quietly. It's the tragedy of the shinobi world, Naruto agreed. Cycles of hatred and revenge that seem impossible to break. He looked toward Sasuke again. That's why I worry about him. Revenge consumes everything. Friendship, love, hope. It leaves nothing but emptiness. Is that why you're so patient with him, even when he's cold towards you? Naruto smiled. Partly, but also because I understand what drives him. The desire to protect what's precious to you is a powerful force. Sasuke has simply lost sight of what's truly precious in his focus on what he's lost. Their conversation was interrupted by Kakashi, who had finally recovered enough to join them. Philosophical discussions already? You really are an old soul in a young body, Naruto. Just sharing some history. Naruto replied lightly. Are you well enough to resume training, Kakashi-sensei? Well enough to supervise at least, the Jonin confirmed. And I think it's time we prepared specifically for our rematch with Zabuza and his accomplice. The week passed quickly. filled with intensive training and preparation. Naruto divided his time between helping his teammates improve and connecting with Tezuna's family, particularly his grandson Inari, who had lost hope after Gado's men executed his stepfather Kaiza. One evening, after Inari had stormed off following a heated exchange about the futility of standing up to Gado, Naruto found the boy sitting alone on the dock outside the house. "Your stepfather was a brave man," Naruto said, sitting beside Inari. "Being brave got him killed," the boy replied bitterly. "Yes," Naruto acknowledged, "but before that, it gave your village hope. It showed everyone that one person standing up for what's right can inspire others to do the same." "What's the point of inspiration if you end up dead?" Inari demanded. Naruto looked out over the water, his expression thoughtful. "Long ago, a shinobi I knew sacrificed himself to protect his village. His last words were, 'The village is not the buildings or the land, it's the people. And people are like seeds, they contain within them all the potential for the future.'" "Who said that?" Inari asked, his curiosity momentarily overcoming his bitterness. "A friend," Naruto replied softly. "Someone who understood that sometimes protecting the future means being willing to sacrifice for it." He turned to Inari with a gentle smile. "Your stepfather planted seeds of courage in this village. Those seeds are still here, waiting for the right moment to grow." The boy remained silent, but something in his expression had changed, a small spark of the hope he had lost beginning to rekindle. The next morning, as Team 7 prepared to escort Tezuna to the bridge, Naruto created a wood clone to remain behind and protect Inari and his mother, sensing that Gado might target them in a parallel attack. His instinct proved correct. While Zabuza and the masked ninja, now identified as Haku, confronted them at the bridge, Gado's thugs attacked Tezuna's house. Naruto's wood clone not only protected the family, but inspired Inari to rally the villagers, who arrived at the bridge just as the battle reached its climax. On the bridge, the confrontation had escalated dramatically. Sasuke found himself trapped within Haku's crystal ice mirrors, while Kakashi engaged Zabuza in a rematch. Naruto, after ensuring his clone had the situation at the house under control, joined the battle on the bridge. "Wood release, four-pillar prison technique," he called, attempting to disrupt Haku's ice mirrors from the outside. Wooden columns erupted through the bridge's surface, cracking several of the mirrors, but Haku quickly repaired them. Inside the ice prison, Sasuke had awakened his Sharingan through the pressure of combat, but was still being overwhelmed by Haku's speed. Seeing his teammate in danger, Naruto made a decision. He placed his palm on the ground, channeling chakra directly into the bridge's structure. Wood release, underground roots technique. Beneath the surface, wooden roots spread rapidly, following the signature of Sasuke's chakra. When they reached the area beneath the ice prison, they erupted upward, creating an opening in the bridge floor through which Naruto pulled Sasuke to safety. "Your eyes," Naruto noted, seeing the Sharingan active in Sasuke's gaze. "You've awakened them." "I could see his movements," Sasuke confirmed, breathing heavily. "But he was still too fast." "We'll need to work together," Naruto said, helping Sasuke to his feet. "Your eyes can track him, and my wood techniques can restrict his movements." Their coordinated assault forced Haku to abandon the ice mirror technique, leading to a direct confrontation. As Naruto prepared to deliver a final blow, Haku's mask cracked and fell away, revealing the face of a gentle-looking young person they had encountered in the forest days earlier. "You," Naruto hesitated, recognizing the kind soul who had been collecting herbs for medicine. "Please kill me," Haku requested softly. "I have failed as Zabuza's tool. I am no longer of use to him." "A shinobi is more than a tool," Naruto replied firmly. "Hashirama believed that, and I do too. Your life has value beyond your usefulness in battle." Before Haku could respond, they sensed Zabuza in danger. Haku disappeared in a burst of speed, reappearing just in time to take a fatal blow from Kakashi's lightning blade, a blow meant for Zabuza. What followed was a moment of profound revelation for the demon of the mist. As Zabuza cradled the dying Haku, Naruto approached them, his expression solemn. "He loved you," Naruto said quietly. "Not as a master, but as the person who saved him from loneliness and gave his life meaning." Zabuza's tough exterior cracked as tears began to fall. "Shut up, kid. You don't know anything." "I know what it means to be truly strong," Naruto continued. It isn't about how many you can kill, but how many you can protect. Haku understood that. In the end, I think you do too. The moment was interrupted by the arrival of Gato and his mercenaries. The shipping magnate mockingly kicked Haku's body, sending Zabuza into a rage. Despite his injured arms, the demon of the mist charged through the mercenaries with a kunai clenched in his teeth, cutting down dozens before reaching Gato and ending the tyrant's life at the cost of his own. As Zabuza lay dying beside Haku, snow began to fall, an unusual weather phenomenon that seemed to reflect Haku's gentle nature. "Kid," Zabuza called weakly to Naruto. "Take me to him, please." Naruto carefully moved Zabuza to Haku's side, understanding the depth of the bond between them despite their master-tool relationship. "You were right," Zabuza admitted as his life ebbed away. "I hope I can go where he's gone." "I believe you will," Naruto assured him, feeling the echo of Hashirama's compassion for all shinobi, regardless of their past actions. The arrival of the villagers, led by Inari and armed with whatever makeshift weapons they could find, drove away the remaining mercenaries. The bridge was saved, and with it, the future of the Land of Waves. Later, as Team 7 prepared to return to Konoha, they visited the graves of Zabuza and Haku, which overlooked the now completed bridge. "Tazuna-san has decided to name it the Great Naruto Bridge," Kakashi informed them, "in honor of the hope you brought to this land." Naruto shook his head. "It should be the Bridge of Courage, to honor everyone who found the strength to stand up against tyranny, especially Haku and Zabuza, who showed us that even those labeled as demons can find redemption through love." As they departed, Naruto glanced back at the graves, where he had placed Zabuza's sword as a marker. In the setting sun, the massive blade gleamed like a beacon, a testament to the complex nature of the shinobi world, where enemies could become allies, and where understanding could sometimes achieve what violence could not. Upon returning to Konoha, Team 7 found themselves immediately thrust into preparation for the upcoming Chunin exams. Naruto welcomed the opportunity, seeing it as a chance for all of them to grow and for the village to strengthen its bonds with visiting shinobi from other nations. During a team training session, Kakashi observed as Naruto helped Sakura refine her chakra control for Genjutsu resistance while simultaneously sparring with Sasuke. "Your teamwork has improved dramatically," as Kakashi noted, "especially considering your rather unusual start. Understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses is fundamental to effective teamwork," Naruto replied, deflecting a fireball from Sasuke with a wooden shield. Something Hashirama learned through decades of clan warfare. Sasuke paused in his attack, curiosity momentarily overcoming his competitive drive. Did the first Hokage really defeat Madara Uchiha at the Valley of the End? Naruto lowered his defensive stance, his expression becoming solemn. Yes and no. Physically, Hashirama won that battle, but in many ways, he considered it his greatest failure. "Failure?" Sasuke echoed incredulously. "He defeated the strongest Uchiha in history. He lost his closest friend," Naruto corrected gently. "Someone he considered a brother. The village was meant to end the cycle of violence between their clans, but instead, Madara felt excluded and mistrusted." He looked directly at Sasuke. Hashirama always believed that if he had found a way to truly understand Madara's fears, things might have ended differently. Sasuke fell silent, absorbing this perspective on a piece of history he had always viewed from the Uchiha side alone. "The Chunin exams will begin next week," Kakashi interjected, sensing the weight of the moment. "I've nominated all three of you to participate." "Already?" Sakura asked, surprised. "We've only been Genin for a few months. Your mission to the Land of Waves demonstrated capabilities well beyond the average Genin team," Kakashi explained. "Besides, the experience will be valuable regardless of the outcome." Later, as Naruto walked alone through the village, he found himself approached by the third Hokage, who fell into step beside him. "Your team has been generating quite a buzz among the Jonin," Hiruzen remarked, "particularly after the reports from your mission to Wave." "We work well together," Naruto replied modestly. "Sasuke and Sakura have tremendous potential." "And what of you?" the elderly Hokage asked. "How are you balancing Naruto and Hashirama?" Naruto considered the question carefully. "It's becoming more integrated over time, less like two separate consciousnesses and more like one person with memories spanning two lifetimes." He looked up at the Hokage monument, his gaze lingering on the stone face of the first. I feel a responsibility to both legacies, to honor Hashirama's vision for the village while living Naruto's life to its fullest potential. A heavy burden for young shoulders, Hiruzen observed. Perhaps, Naruto acknowledged, but also a unique opportunity. Hashirama's greatest regret was his failure to prevent the divisions that eventually led to conflict within the village and between the nations. Now there's a chance to address those issues from their foundations. You're thinking of Sasuke, the third Hokage guessed, and others, Naruto confirmed. The Uchiha massacre, the tensions with other villages, the injustices that create missing nin like Zabuza, these are all symptoms of deeper problems that Hashirama hoped the village system would solve. And you believe you can succeed where the God of Shinobi failed? There was no mockery in Hiruzen's tone, only genuine curiosity. Naruto smiled slightly. Not alone, but perhaps with the right allies, at the right moment in history. Yes, I believe positive change is possible. The Chunin exams will bring representatives from many villages, Hiruzen warned, including some who may harbor ill intentions toward Konoha. I know, Naruto replied. I can sense something approaching, a test for all of us, but particularly for Sasuke and me. Trust your instincts, the elderly Hokage advised. They're informed by more experience than most shinobi accumulate in a lifetime. The day before the Chunin exams, Team 7 met at their usual training ground to finalize their preparations. Naruto had been carefully monitoring Sasuke's development, concerned about the Uchiha's growing obsession with gaining power to defeat his brother, Itachi. The exams will test more than just our combat abilities, Naruto explained as they rested after a sparring session. Historically, they've evaluated teamwork, intelligence gathering, survival skills, and diplomatic awareness. How do you know so much about them? Sakura asked. The structure changes every time, doesn't it? The specifics change, but the underlying principles remain consistent, Naruto replied. Remember, the exams serve multiple purposes, promoting worthy genin, showcasing village strength, and facilitating inter-village relationships. Political theater, in other words, Sasuke summarized with a hint of disdain. Politics and combat have always been intertwined in the shinobi world, Naruto said. Understanding both is necessary for true strength. As they continued discussing strategy, they were interrupted by the arrival of 3 sand ninja, a red-haired boy with a gourd on his back, a blonde kunoichi with a large fan, and a shinobi with purple face paint carrying a wrap bundle. You must be here for the Chunin exams, Naruto greeted them politely, though he immediately sensed something unusual about the red-haired boy's chakra, something hauntingly familiar. Gaara of the Desert, the red-haired boy introduced himself, his gaze fixed intently on Naruto. You're like me. Naruto met his gaze steadily. A Jinchuriki, he acknowledged quietly, surprising his teammates with his directness. Yes, I carry the 9 tails, as you carry the 1 tail. Gaara's siblings tensed visibly, while Sasuke and Sakura exchanged alarmed glances. Mother wants your blood, Gaara stated, his voice devoid of emotion. She says you're different? Dangerous. Not mother, Naruto corrected gently. Shukaku, the 1-tailed tanuki. And yes, I am different, but not in the way you think. We'll see in the exams, Gaara replied, turning to leave. Try not to die before we meet again. After the Sand siblings departed, Sasuke turned to Naruto. You knew he was a Jinchuriki immediately. How? I can sense the distinctive chakra signature, Naruto explained. The 9 tails reacts to the presence of other tailed beasts. Is he dangerous? Sakura asked worriedly. Very, Naruto confirmed, but also deeply wounded. His seal appears to be incomplete, allowing Shukaku to influence his mind directly. He frowned thoughtfully. There's more to the Sand's participation in these exams than simple promotion. We should be cautious. The first phase of the Chunin exams, a written test designed to evaluate information gathering skills under pressure, proved relatively straightforward for Team 7. Naruto, with his vast knowledge and experience, easily answered the questions without resorting to cheating. Sasuke used his Sharingan to copy another participant's movements, while Sakura's academic excellence allowed her to solve the problems directly. The true challenge came with Ibiki Morino's final question, a psychological test that forced participants to risk permanent genin status or withdraw from the exam. Naruto, recognizing the intent behind the question, remained calm and confident, silently supporting his teammates with reassuring glances. When Anko Mitarashi crashed through the window to announce the second phase, Naruto's senses immediately heightened. The Forest of Death would present not only the dangers inherent to the exam, but also an opportunity for any outside forces to act against Konoha's Genin away from village protection. Before entering the forest, Naruto gathered Sasuke and Sakura close, speaking in hushed tones. "We need a recognition signal," he advised, "something that can't be easily mimicked by transformation techniques." They established a code phrase and agreed on a strategy that would keep them moving quickly toward the center tower while avoiding unnecessary confrontations. Within the forest, Naruto's natural affinity for wood chakra gave him a significant advantage. He could sense movement through the trees themselves, providing early warning of approaching teams. This ability proved crucial when, on their second day, a powerful chakra signature approached them with predatory intent. "Someone's coming," Naruto warned his teammates. "Someone far too strong to be a Genin." Moments later, a massive windstorm separated Naruto from Sasuke and Sakura. Fighting his way back through the trees, he arrived just in time to see a pale-skinned grass ninja extending an unnaturally long neck toward Sasuke, fangs bared. "Wood release, great forest technique," Naruto shouted, sending wooden spikes shooting toward the attacker. The grass ninja twisted away with inhuman flexibility, abandoning the attack on Sasuke to face this new threat. As their eyes met, Naruto felt a cold shock of recognition. "Orochimaru," he breathed, recalling Hashirama's memories of the young brilliant shinobi who had studied under Hiruzen and who had later abandoned the village to pursue forbidden techniques. My, Orochimaru said, his voice taking on a deeper, more sinister tone as he peeled away the face of the grass ninja to reveal his true appearance. What an unexpected surprise! The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki using wood release? His serpentine eyes narrowed. How fascinating! "Sasuke, Sakura, run!" Naruto commanded, stepping forward to place himself between the Sannin and his teammates. "This is no ordinary opponent, but perceptive," Orochimaru chuckled. "I simply came to offer young Sasuke a gift, the power he seeks to avenge his clan." "By cursing him with your mark?" Naruto challenged. "I know what you're offering and the price it demands." Orochimaru's expression shifted to one of genuine curiosity. "You speak as if we've met before, boy. How intriguing." Wooden roots burst from the ground around Naruto, growing rapidly as his chakra surged. Wood release, wood locking wall. A massive wooden structure erupted between Orochimaru and Sasuke, while additional branches moved to encircle the Sannin. "Impossible," Orochimaru hissed, his surprise momentarily genuine. "That technique died with the First Hokage." "Not entirely," Naruto replied, his hands forming a series of seals. Wood release deep forest emergence. The forest floor transformed as massive trees erupted upward, reshaping the battlefield. It was a technique requiring chakra reserves and control far beyond most Jonin, let alone Genin. Orochimaru's shock gave way to calculating interest. "So that's it," he murmured. "Not just the Nine-Tails, but Hashirama's power as well. You're quite the specimen, Naruto Uzumaki." The battle that followed pushed Naruto to his limits. Despite Hashirama's techniques and knowledge, his 12-year-old body lacked the chakra capacity and physical development to fully utilize the First Hokage's most powerful abilities. Orochimaru, recognizing this limitation, targeted Naruto with increasingly vicious attacks, forcing him on the defensive. "You have potential, boy," the Sannin taunted as he evaded another wood technique. "But you're decades from being a threat to me." "Maybe," Naruto acknowledged, breathing heavily. "But I only need to hold you off long enough." "For what?" Orochimaru laughed. "Help? In the center of the Forest of Death?" "For this," Naruto replied, closing his eyes briefly in concentration. Throughout their battle, he had been spreading roots beneath the forest floor, extending his sensory network and simultaneously preparing his final gambit. Now, wooden clones began emerging from the trees surrounding them, dozens of them, each capable of independent action. Wood clone technique. Orochimaru identified, his amusement fading. Solid clones with their own chakra systems, impressive but futile. The clones attacked in waves, sacrificing themselves to occupy Orochimaru while the real Naruto gathered Sasuke and Sakura. "We need to reach the tower," he urged them. "I can't defeat him, only delay him. But you're using the First Hokage's techniques, Sakura protested. How can you not? Knowledge without the physical development to support it has limitations, Naruto explained quickly. My body isn't ready for the full extent of Hashirama's power. As they fled through the forest, Orochimaru dispatched the last of the wood clones and pursued them, his patience exhausted. Enough games, the Sannin snarled, catching up to them in a clearing near the tower. Sasuke will receive my gift, whether you interfere or not. He struck with blinding speed, but instead of attacking Sasuke directly, he targeted Naruto, driving a 5-element seal into the boy's stomach, disrupting both the Nine-Tails' chakra and Naruto's control over the wood release. Naruto collapsed, momentarily paralyzed by the conflicting chakra systems within him. Sasuke, seeing his teammate fall, activated his Sharingan and engaged Orochimaru directly. Yes, those eyes, Orochimaru hissed in satisfaction. Show me the power of the Uchiha. Despite Sasuke's valiant effort and Sakura's support, they were hopelessly outmatched. Orochimaru easily subdued them both, then extended his neck towards Sasuke once more, fangs bared to deliver the cursed seal of heaven. In that critical moment, Naruto forced himself to his feet, drawing on the deepest reserves of both his own willpower and Hashirama's indomitable spirit. His hand shot out and a single wooden spike drove through Orochimaru's extended neck, forcing him to retract. I won't let you, Naruto gasped, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Not him, not my friend. Orochimaru's eyes narrowed in fury, but before he could retaliate, multiple ambush signatures appeared at the edges of Naruto's fading sensory perception. The Sannin hesitated, calculating his options. Another time then, he decided, melting into the forest floor. But remember, Sasuke-kun, when you want real power, seek me out. As the snake Sannin disappeared, Naruto collapsed once more, the 5-element seal disrupting his chakra network too severely to maintain consciousness. His last thought before darkness claimed him was a mixture of relief that Sasuke had been spared the cursed seal and concern about what Orochimaru's interest in both of them might mean for the future. Naruto awoke in a small room within the central tower of the Forest of Death. Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin and Hiruzen's former student, stood over him with an unusually serious expression. Welcome back, kid, the white-haired shinobi greeted him. You've caused quite a stir. Jiraiya-sama, Naruto acknowledged, immediately recognizing him from Hashirama's memories of a much younger version of the man. Orochimaru. We know, Jiraiya interrupted. The Anbu tracked him, but he escaped, always was slippery, even as a genin. He studied Naruto with curious eyes. More importantly, let's talk about you. The old man told me about your unique situation, but seeing that wood release in action is something else entirely. Naruto attempted to sit up, wincing as the 5-element seal disrupted his chakra flow. He placed a seal on me. Already removed it, Jiraiya informed him. Nasty piece of work, designed to disrupt your connection to both the Nine-Tails and your wood release abilities. My teammates? Naruto asked urgently. Fine, shaken but unharmed. The Uchiha boy is particularly interested in how you managed to drive off a Sannin. Jiraiya's expression became more serious. Which is something I'd like to know as well. I didn't drive him off, Naruto clarified. I just delayed him long enough for the Anbu to approach. He could have killed all of us if he'd wanted to. But he didn't, Jiraiya noted. Instead, he seemed fixated on giving Sasuke a cursed seal. Any idea why? Naruto's expression darkened. The Sharingan. Orochimaru has always been obsessed with learning all jutsu, and the Sharingan represents the ultimate shortcut to that goal. You speak like you know him personally, Jiraiya observed. Hashirama didn't, Naruto replied, but he remembers Tobirama's concerns about the young shinobi Hiruzen was training. Even then, Orochimaru's ambition worried the second Hokage. Jiraiya let out a low whistle. Creepy to hear you talk about people long dead like you had coffee with them yesterday. Imagine how it feels, Naruto replied with a wry smile. After being cleared by medical ninja, Naruto rejoined his teammates, who were waiting anxiously for news of his condition. Naruto! Sakura exclaimed, relief evident in her voice. You're okay! Sasuke's reaction was more restrained, but the intensity of his gaze spoke volumes. Those techniques, he said without preamble, they were real wood release. Yes, Naruto confirmed simply. And you knew who that was, Orochimaru, You recognized him instantly. Also, yes, Sasuke's fists clenched at his sides. You could have told me you had that kind of power. All this time during training, missions, you've been holding back. I showed you what I could when it mattered most, Naruto replied calmly. Against Orochimaru. To protect me, Sasuke said, his voice tight with a complex mixture of gratitude and resentment. Like I was some child who needed saving. To protect my friend and teammate, Naruto corrected. The same way you would have protected me or Sakura if you'd had the ability to do so. This framing seemed to reach Sasuke in a way that explanations about reincarnation and hidden abilities had not. His shoulders relaxed slightly, though his expression remained troubled. What happens now? Sakura asked, looking between her teammates uncertainly. We continue with the exam, Naruto stated. Orochimaru's appearance suggests larger forces at work, but withdrawing would only demonstrate weakness. Agreed, Sasuke said, finding common ground in this strategic assessment. We've come this far. We finish it. With their earth and heaven scrolls intact, protected by Sakura during the confrontation with Orochimaru, Team 7 officially completed the second phase of the exams. They were among the few teams to advance to the preliminary matches, which would determine who proceeded to the final tournament. The preliminary matches revealed the true level of competition in the Chunin exams. Teams from various villages demonstrated impressive and diverse abilities, confirming Naruto's suspicion that this year's examinations were particularly significant politically. When Sasuke's match against a Leaf Genin named Yoriakata was announced, Naruto pulled his teammate aside briefly. He absorbs chakra through physical contact, Naruto warned. Rely on taijutsu and keep your distance when possible. Sasuke nodded, his competitive spirit rekindled by the challenge. The match proved difficult, with Yoroi nearly draining Sasuke completely, but the Uchiha adapted quickly, using a modified version of Lee's taijutsu to create the Lion's Barrage technique that secured his victory. Sakura's match against Ino Yamanaka ended in a double knockout, with both kunoichi demonstrating remarkable willpower but ultimately exhausting themselves completely. When Naruto's name appeared on the board alongside Kiba Inuzuka's, the dog Nin grinned confidently. Lucky me, Kiba boasted. I get the dead last. Naruto smiled politely as they faced each other in the arena. Don't underestimate your opponent, Kiba. It's a fundamental rule of combat. Big talk from someone who barely passed the academy exams, Kiba retorted, unaware of Naruto's deliberate underperformance during their school years. As the match began, Kiba and his Ninken partner, Akamaru, immediately launched into their Fang over Fang technique, creating twin drilling attacks that spiraled toward Naruto from different angles. Naruto remained perfectly still until the last possible moment, then simply placed his palm on the ground. Wood release, domed wall. A wooden hemisphere erupted around him, completely blocking both spinning attacks. Kiba and Akamaru bounced off the hardened wood, momentarily stunned by the unexpected defense. A collective gasp ran through the observing Genin and Jonin. For many, this was their first glimpse of the legendary wood release in action. What the hell? Kiba exclaimed, regaining his footing. Since when can you? Wood release cutting technique, Naruto continued calmly. The dome transformed, shooting wooden spikes outward in all directions. None were aimed to cause serious injury, but they forced Kiba and Akamaru to separate, disrupting their coordinated attack strategy. What followed was less a battle than a demonstration. Naruto systematically neutralized every technique in Kiba's arsenal, using precisely controlled wood constructs to immobilize both the Genin and his Ninken partner without causing harm to either. I yield, Kiba finally gasped, trapped within a wooden cage that tightened gradually as he struggled. I can't break free. As Hayate Gecko declared Naruto the winner, the arena fell silent. The casual display of a Kekkei Genkai, thought lost to Konoha, had stunned everyone present. That was, Ino began, unable to find the words. The wood release of the first Hokage. Shikamaru finished, his typically bored expression replaced by intense focus. Troublesome doesn't begin to cover this. In the Kage viewing box, the third Hokage received questioning looks from the other village representatives, particularly the Kazekage. An interesting development, the masked Kazekage remarked. I was unaware that Konoha had successfully reproduced the first Kekkei Genkai. Naruto Uzumaki is a special case. Hiruzen replied carefully. His abilities are still developing. The Kazakage's eyes narrowed slightly. Indeed. Most interesting. Following the preliminaries, the finalists were given 1 month to prepare for the tournament. The matchups were determined by random draw, with Naruto set to face Neji Hyuga in the first round, while Sasuke would battle Gaara. As they left the tower, Naruto fell into step beside Sasuke. "Your opponent is extremely dangerous," he warned quietly. "Gaara's control over sand is absolute, and the One Tail makes him virtually immune to normal attacks." "And yours isn't dangerous?" Sasuke countered, referring to Neji's reputation as a prodigy of the Hyuga clan. "Different kind of dangerous," Naruto replied. Neji is a genius trapped by his own beliefs about fate and the immutability of one's circumstances. His bitterness makes him cruel, but not murderous. He glanced meaningfully toward Gaara, who was departing with his siblings. Gaara, on the other hand, has been killing since he was a child. Sasuke absorbed this information with a thoughtful frown. "How do you intend to deal with Neji?" A small smile touched Naruto's lips. "By showing him that destiny isn't fixed, that even those born into cages can find freedom." The month of preparation passed quickly. Naruto divided his time between personal training, helping Sakura develop her genjutsu resistance, and observing Sasuke's training with Kakashi from a respectful distance. He also spent considerable time with Jiraiya, who had taken a particular interest in his unusual situation. "The seal is stable," the Toad Sage confirmed after a thorough examination. "But the interaction between the Nine Tails chakra and your wood release creates unique challenges and opportunities. Hashirama could suppress the Nine Tails without a formal sealing technique," Naruto noted, "just through the natural properties of his chakra." "Exactly," Jiraiya nodded, "and theoretically, you should be able to do the same, not to suppress the fox completely, since it's already sealed within you, but to access its chakra with less risk of losing control." They worked on techniques to harmonize these seemingly contradictory energies, with Naruto gradually gaining the ability to draw on small amounts of the Nine Tails chakra while maintaining the stabilizing influence of the wood release. As the finals approached, Naruto sought out Hinata Hyuga, who had been severely injured during her preliminary match against her cousin Neji. He found her in the hospital, still recovering but conscious. "Naruto-kun," she greeted him softly, a blush spreading across her pale cheeks. "You didn't need to visit me." "I wanted to," he replied kindly, setting a small potted plant, one he had grown himself, on her bedside table. "And I wanted to ask about Neji." Hinata's expression grew somber. "My cousin, he has suffered greatly because of the divisions within our clan, the main and branch houses. The caged bird seal," Naruto nodded. "Hashirama always regretted allowing the Hyuga to maintain that practice when they joined the village. He considered it contrary to the spirit of unity that Konoha was meant to embody." Hinata's eyes widened at his words. "You know about that? And Hashirama?" Naruto smiled gently. "It's a long story, but yes, I understand more about your clan's history than most. What I don't fully understand is Neji himself, what drives his anger, particularly toward you." Hinata explained the circumstances of her uncle Hisashi's death, sacrificed in place of her father to maintain peace with Kumogakure after a failed kidnapping attempt on Hinata herself. The story reinforced Naruto's understanding of the deep divisions within the supposedly united village, divisions that had persisted since the founding era. "Thank you for telling me this," Naruto said as he prepared to leave. "I think I understand Neji better now." Will you hurt him in your match?" Hinata asked hesitantly. Naruto shook his head. "No, I hope to help him, actually. Sometimes perspective is the greatest gift we can offer someone trapped in darkness." The day of the finals arrived with great fanfare. Dignitaries from across the shinobi world filled the arena, including the daimyo of several nations. The tournament represented not just a promotion exercise, but a showcase of each village's strength and future potential. Naruto's match against Neji was scheduled first, a deliberate arrangement by the Third Hokage, who wanted to gauge the reaction to Naruto's abilities before the later matches. As they faced each other in the arena, Neji's pale eyes narrowed with disdain. "You should forfeit now," he advised. "Fate has already determined the outcome of this match. A failure cannot defeat a genius." "Interesting perspective," Naruto replied calmly, particularly from someone who claims to see everything with those eyes of yours. I see clearly enough, Neji retorted. Your file from the academy shows years of mediocrity. Your recent display of wood release doesn't change the fundamental truth. You were born ordinary, while I was born with the Byakugan and natural talent. And yet, Naruto observed, you remain caged by the very fate you claim to accept. Your hatred toward the main house, toward Hinata specifically, reveals your true feelings. You don't accept your destiny at all. You rage against it. Neji's expression hardened. You know nothing of my circumstances. I know more than you might think, Naruto replied. About your father's sacrifice, about the caged bird seal, about the divisions within your clan that have persisted for generations. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Neji's face. How could you possibly begin? Genma Shiranui, the proctor, interrupted, jumping clear as the match officially started. Neji immediately activated his Byakugan and settled into the gentle fist stance. Naruto remained relaxed, making no move to attack. Will you not even try? Neji taunted, circling slowly. I'm waiting, Naruto replied simply. For what? For you to realize something important. Frustrated by Naruto's calm demeanor, Neji launched forward, striking with precision at the chakra points in Naruto's arms. To his shock, his fingers met not flesh but wood, as Naruto's skin transformed at the moment of impact. Wood release substitution, Naruto explained, his body seamlessly shifting between flesh and wood wherever Neji's strikes landed, a variation of the technique that allows partial transformation rather than complete replacement. Neji jumped back, reassessing. An impressive trick, but the Byakugan reveals all. I can see the pattern of your transformations and adapt. Can you? Naruto questioned. Your eyes see chakra pathways and physical obstructions, but can they see the truth behind a person's actions? Can they see into their heart? Philosophical nonsense won't save you, Neji declared, charging again with a more complex sequence of strikes. What followed was a dance of attack and defense, topped with Neji's gentle fist techniques becoming increasingly frustrated by Naruto's adaptive wood transformations. Throughout the exchange, Naruto made no offensive moves, merely defending and occasionally commenting on Neji's approach. Your technique is flawless, Naruto acknowledged after evading a particularly intricate combination. You've clearly earned your reputation as a genius, but you're fighting for the wrong reasons. And what would you know of my reasons? Neji demanded, breathing heavily from exertion. You fight to prove that fate can be overcome through excellence, Naruto replied. To demonstrate that even a branch family member can surpass the main house. You fight to validate your father's sacrifice by becoming stronger than anyone thought possible. Neji froze momentarily, stunned by the accuracy of Naruto's assessment. And those are worthy goals, Naruto continued, lowering his defensive stance. But they're built on a foundation of hatred and resentment that will never bring you peace. What would you have me do? Neji asked bitterly. Forgive those who branded me? Who treated my father as disposable? No, Naruto replied. I would have you see the full truth. Your father chose his path, not because fate demanded it, but because he finally found a way to exercise freedom in a system designed to deny it to him. You speak as if you knew him, Neji said suspiciously. I didn't, Naruto admitted, but I understand the choice he made. It was the same choice Hashirama Senju made when he founded this village, to sacrifice himself for a future where children might live in peace rather than die in war. Without warning, Naruto placed his palm on the ground. Wood release, Enlightenment Pavilion. Wooden columns rose around them, forming a small structure that isolated them from the crowd's view. Inside this temporary sanctuary, patterns of light filtered through precisely arranged slats, creating the impression of a sacred space. What is this? Neji demanded, though his voice had lost some of its edge. A place for truth, Naruto replied. In the founding era, Hashirama created spaces like this for meditation and difficult conversations, places where people could speak honestly without the pressure of public performance. From his pocket, Naruto withdrew a scroll and handed it to Neji. This contains a letter from your father to you, written the night before his death. The third Hokage preserved it, though the Hyuga elders prevented its delivery. With trembling hands, Neji opened the scroll and began to read. Tears formed in his pale eyes as he absorbed his father's final words, an explanation of his choice, an expression of love, and a hope that Neji would find his own path to freedom. He chose to die, Neji whispered. Not because of fate, but to defy it. To die as a man making his own choice rather than living as a tool. Yes, Naruto confirmed gently. And in doing so, he hoped to show you that destiny can be challenged, that cages can be opened from within as well as without. Neji looked up from the scroll, his entire worldview visibly shifting. Why would you show me this? In the middle of our match? Because defeating you in combat would prove nothing, Naruto replied. But helping you see beyond your pain might change everything, not just for you, but for the future of your clan and the village. After a long moment, Neji carefully rolled the scroll and tucked it into his clothing. I can't continue this match, he said quietly. Not like this. Then let's end it properly, Naruto suggested, dispelling the wooden pavilion. As the structure receded into the ground, revealing them to the confused audience once more, Neji faced Naruto with new understanding in his eyes. Proctor, he called, his voice steady. I withdraw from this match. A murmur of surprise ran through the crowd. Genma raised an eyebrow but nodded. Winner by forfeit, Naruto Uzumaki. As they left the arena together, Neji glanced at Naruto. You could have defeated me easily with those wood techniques. Perhaps, Naruto acknowledged. But some victories aren't measured by who remains standing. You sound like an old man, Neji observed, the barest hint of a smile touching his lips. Naruto laughed. You have no idea. The tournament continued with varying degrees of drama and excitement, but an undercurrent of tension permeated the proceedings. Naruto, sensitive to the natural energy around him, could feel something building, a convergence of forces that reminded him of the atmosphere before major conflicts in Hashirama's era. Sasuke's match against Gaara was delayed, ostensibly because the Uchiha and Kakashi had not yet arrived. As the crowd grew restless, Naruto sought out the third Hokage in the viewing box. Something's wrong, he reported quietly. The Sand Ninja are exhibiting unusual chakra patterns, particularly the Jonin instructors. Hiruzen nodded almost imperceptibly. We've noticed. Anbu are on alert. Jiraiya is investigating the perimeter. And the Kazekage? Naruto asked, glancing toward the masked figure seated beside Hiruzen. Is not who he appears to be, the third Hokage replied in a barely audible whisper. We're playing along until we understand the full scope of whatever is planned. Naruto returned to the competitor's box just as Sasuke finally arrived, accompanied by Kakashi. The Uchiha had clearly undergone intensive training. His movements were sharper, his chakra more focused. You're late, Naruto noted as Sasuke joined him. Dramatic timing, Sasuke replied with a hint of a smirk. Kakashi's influence. Be careful with Gaara, Naruto warned again. There's something off about this whole tournament. It feels like a setup, Sasuke finished. I know, Kakashi sensed it too. As Sasuke descended to the arena to face Gaara, Naruto turned his attention to the other Sand siblings. Temari and Kankuro both exhibited subtle signs of anxiety. Not the normal concern for a brother in competition, but something deeper, more ominous. The match began with Gaara immediately encasing himself in a sphere of sand, a defensive posture that seemed excessive for the opening moments of a tournament fight. Sasuke, showcasing his month of specialized training, demonstrated speed reminiscent of Lee's and a new technique, the Chidori, Kakashi's original lightning-based assassination jutsu. When Sasuke's Chidori penetrated Gaara's sand shield, drawing blood for what was apparently the first time in the Sand Ninja's life, everything changed. An inhuman scream erupted from within the sand sphere, and Naruto immediately recognized the distinctive chakra signature of a tailed beast beginning to emerge. It's starting, he murmured to Shikamaru, who stood nearby. Whatever they've planned, this is the trigger. As if on cue, feathers began to fall throughout the stadium, a mass genjutsu designed to put the civilians to sleep. Naruto immediately formed a seal. Release! Around the arena, Jonin were doing the same, awakening their Genin students and preparing for what was clearly an invasion. In the Kage box, the Kazekage revealed himself to be Orochimaru in disguise, taking Hiruzen hostage and erecting a barrier to prevent interference. Simultaneously, giant summoned snakes appeared at Konoha's walls, and Sound and Sand Ninja began pouring into the village. The invasion had begun. In the arena, Gaara was whisked away by his siblings, with Sasuke in pursuit. Kakashi quickly appeared beside Naruto. "Follow Sasuke," the Jonin instructed urgently. He doesn't understand what he's chasing. Gaara is this invasion's secret weapon, a Jinchuriki on the verge of losing control. "What about the village?" Naruto asked, glancing toward the battles erupting throughout the stadium. "We'll handle the defense," Kakashi assured him. "You're uniquely qualified to deal with both Sasuke and Gaara. Take Shikamaru and Sakura with you." With a determined nod, Naruto gathered his assigned team and set off in pursuit of Sasuke and the Sand siblings. As they leaped through the forest outside Konoha, Naruto briefed them on what they were facing. "Gaara is the Jinchuriki of the One Tail," he explained. "When wounded by Sasuke, the seal containing Shukaku began to weaken. If Gaara fully transforms, he'll have the power to level Konoha." "And we're supposed to stop that?" Shikamaru asked incredulously. "Troublesome doesn't begin to cover this. You're here for your strategic mind," Naruto clarified. "Sakura for her genjutsu resistance and intelligence. I'll handle the direct confrontation if necessary." "With your wood release," Sakura realized, "because the First Hokage could subdue tailed beasts." "Exactly," Naruto confirmed. "But first, we need to reach them before Gaara completely loses control." Their pursuit was temporarily delayed by an ambush of Sound Ninja, which Shikamaru volunteered to hold off alone, allowing Naruto and Sakura to continue. Shortly thereafter, they caught up to find Sasuke already engaged in battle with a partially transformed Gaara, one arm and half his face now resembling the Tenuki whose spirit he contained. "Sasuke!" Sakura called, drawing Gaara's attention. With frightening speed, the Sand Ninja sent an elongated arm of sand to capture Sakura, pinning her against a tree trunk with crushing pressure. "Your precious people make you weak," Gaara snarled at Sasuke. "Let me show you what happens when you care for others." "Let her go," Naruto commanded, stepping forward. "Your quarrel isn't with her." Gaara's distorted face turned toward Naruto, recognition flashing in his eyes. "You, the one like me, but different. Mother wants your blood most of all." "Not your mother," Naruto corrected again. "Shukaku is using you, Gaara. You've been lied to your entire life, made to believe you're a monster when you're actually a victim." "Shut up!" Gaara roared, clutching his head. "I exist to kill. That's my purpose." "No," Naruto replied firmly. "Your purpose was to protect your village, but they feared what they created in you. They isolated you, turned you into a weapon instead of a person." He took another step forward. "I understand, Gaara. I was alone, too." For a brief moment, confusion replaced rage in Gaara's expression. "You understand? Impossible." "We're the same," Naruto insisted. "Both Jinchuriki, both used as containers for powers we didn't ask for. The difference is that I found people who recognized me as human. You can have that too." Gaara's transformation accelerated in response, sand enveloping more of his body. "Lies! No one can love a monster." With a final roar, Gaara completed his transformation into the full form of Shukaku, a massive tanuki of sand that towered above the forest. Sakura remained trapped in hardened sand against the tree, while Sasuke could barely stand, his chakra nearly depleted from multiple uses of the Chidori. "Get Sasuke out of here," Naruto instructed Pakun, Kakashi's Ninken summon who had accompanied them. "I'll handle Gaara and free Sakura." "You can't face that thing alone," Sasuke protested weakly. Naruto smiled at his teammate. "I'm never truly alone. I carry the will of those who came before me." He formed a complex sequence of hand seals. Wood release, Hokage-style 60-year-old technique, Kakuin entering society with bliss-bringing hands. Massive wooden pillars erupted from the ground, growing rapidly to encircle Shukaku's enormous form. At the top of each pillar, a torii gate formed, connecting them in a massive containment structure. "This technique," Sasuke murmured in awe, "was Hashirama's ultimate method for subduing tailed beasts," Naruto confirmed, strain evident in his voice as he maintained the complex jutsu. "I can't hold it long with my current chakra reserves, but it should be enough." As the wooden structures tightened around Shukaku, Naruto leaped onto the tanuki's head, where Gaara's unconscious form protruded from the sand. According to Hashirama's memories, Jinchuriki, who fully transformed, often used a forced sleep technique to give their tailed beast complete control. Breaking that technique was key to subduing them. "Wake up!" Naruto shouted, striking Gaara's face with enough force to rouse him. The redhead's eyes flew open, and immediately Shukaku's form began to crumble, No! I just got here! The tailed beast roared as it lost cohesion. As the sand collapsed, Naruto and Gaara fell to the forest floor, both exhausted from the immense chakra expenditure. They faced each other, barely able to move. Why? Gaara asked weakly. Why go so far for others? What makes you so strong? The same thing that could make you strong, Naruto replied. Bonds with others, people to protect, a purpose beyond mere existence or destruction. I've never had that, Gaara admitted, a lifetime of loneliness evident in his voice. You can, Naruto assured him. Your siblings, they care for you, even though they fear your power. I saw it in their eyes, in their desperation to get you away from the arena. That's a starting point. As if summoned by his words, Temari and Kankuro arrived, positioning themselves protectively in front of their brother. That's enough, Temari declared, though fear was evident in her stance. We're taking Gaara and leaving. Wait, Gaara said softly, surprising his siblings. Help me up, I'm done fighting. The confusion on their faces would have been comical in other circumstances. Cautiously, they helped Gaara to his feet. The invasion? Naruto asked. A deception, Kankuro admitted reluctantly. Orochimaru killed our father and impersonated him, manipulating the sand into this alliance with the sound. Then there's no reason for our villages to remain enemies, Naruto pointed out. Take Gaara home, help him heal. He doesn't have to be a weapon anymore. As the Sand siblings departed, Naruto used the last of his strength to free Sakura from the sand prison before collapsing in exhaustion. The wooden pillars he had created to restrain Shukaku remained standing, a monument to a power thought lost to Konoha, now returned in the most unexpected vessel. The aftermath of the invasion brought both sorrow and change to Konoha. The third Hokage had sacrificed himself to prevent Orochimaru from destroying the village completely, using the Reaper Death Seal to disable the Snake Sannin's arms and disrupt his techniques. Naruto stood at Hiruzen's funeral, rain falling gently as if the sky itself mourned the passing of the God of Shinobi. Despite the public nature of the ceremony, he allowed his tears to fall freely. Tears that came from both Naruto's grief for the grandfather figure who had protected him and Hashirama's sorrow at losing the bright-eyed student he remembered from another lifetime. He believed in you, Jiraiya said quietly, coming to stand beside Naruto. Said you carried not just Hashirama's power, but his wisdom too. That's why he didn't interfere more directly in your development. I wish he could have seen what comes next, Naruto replied softly. The village will need guidance through this transition. About that, Jiraiya began, looking uncharacteristically serious. The council has asked me to take up the position of Hokage. And I refused, the Sannin admitted. It's not my path, but there's someone else who might be perfect for the role. My old teammate, Tsunade. Naruto nodded thoughtfully. The granddaughter of Hashirama and Mito, a legendary medical ninja and formidable warrior in her own right. Exactly, Jiraiya confirmed. But she left the village years ago, disillusioned by the deaths of her loved ones. It will take some convincing to bring her back. And you want my help, Naruto guessed. Sharp as ever. Jiraiya grinned briefly before becoming serious again. Yes, your connection to Hashirama might be the one thing that could reach her. Plus, I want to continue your training away from the village. There are organizations that have taken an interest in you in the Nine Tails. Akatsuki, Naruto said unsurprised. A group collecting tailed beasts, including Itachi Uchiha among their members. Jiraiya's eyebrows shot up. How did you? Fragments of intelligence gathered over time, Naruto explained. Plus, Hashirama's diplomatic instincts tend to make me pay attention to patterns others might miss. The Toad Sage shook his head in amazement. Sometimes I forget you've got an entire extra lifetime of experience in that head of yours. He clapped Naruto on the shoulder. We'll leave in 3 days. Handle any unfinished business before then. Naruto's unfinished business primarily concerned his teammates. Sasuke had been unusually quiet since the invasion, processing the vast difference in power he had witnessed between himself and Naruto during the confrontation with Gaara. Naruto found him at the training ground, systematically destroying targets with increasingly powerful fire techniques. Your control has improved, Naruto observed, announcing his presence. Sasuke paused, wiping sweat from his brow. Not enough, not compared to what you did against Gaara. That technique strained me to my limits, Naruto admitted. I collapsed immediately afterward, if you recall. My body isn't ready to sustain Hashirama's most powerful abilities. But someday it will be, Sasuke pointed out, frustration evident in his voice, while I'm still struggling to master basic Jonin-level techniques. Your path and mine are different, Naruto acknowledged, but that doesn't make one superior to the other. The Sharingan has potential that even the wood release can't match in certain areas. Sasuke scoffed. Pretty words to make me feel better. No, Naruto replied seriously. Honest assessment from someone who fought alongside and against Uchiha in another lifetime. Madara's visual prowess eventually matched or exceeded Hashirama's wood release in many respects. The difference was in how they chose to use their power. This caught Sasuke's attention. What do you mean? Hashirama fought to protect, to build, to unify. Madara, after a certain point, fought for revenge, for validation, for a vision that excluded rather than included. Naruto met Sasuke's gaze directly. The power itself wasn't what separated them, it was their purpose. Sasuke looked away, uncomfortable with the parallel to his own situation. I'm leaving with Kakashi tomorrow, he said, changing the subject. Extended training away from the village. I thought you might, Naruto nodded. I'm departing with Jiraiya in 3 days to search for Tsunade, the next Hokage. Will you tell her? Sasuke asked. About being Hashirama's reincarnation? She'll need to know, Naruto confirmed. As Hashirama's granddaughter, she has a unique perspective on his abilities and what they mean for Konoha. They fell into silence, each contemplating the different paths stretching before them. When we return, Sasuke finally said, I want a real match. No holding back, no philosophical discussions in the middle of combat. Just you and me, seeing who's stronger. Naruto smiled slightly. Agreed. But remember, Sasuke, strength isn't just about who can create the biggest technique or hit the hardest. I know, the Uchiha replied, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. It's about who has the will of fire, right? Something like that, Naruto agreed, pleased that at least some of his words had made an impact. His farewell to Sakura was equally significant, but quite different in tone. Since the invasion, she had begun training with some of the medical ninja, inspired by her experience of feeling helpless during the battle with Gaara. I'll miss you, she admitted as they walked through the village. Both of you. Team 7 won't be the same without you and Sasuke. We'll return stronger, Naruto assured her, and it seems you'll be pursuing your own path towards strength as well. Sakura nodded determinedly. I'm tired of being protected all the time. I want to be someone who can heal injuries, not just watch as others get hurt fighting. Hashirama would approve, Naruto told her. He always believed medical ninjutsu was as important as combat techniques, perhaps more so. A team with a skilled medical ninja has a significant advantage in any conflict. Really? Sakura asked, clearly pleased by this validation. Absolutely. In fact, Hashirama's wife, Mito Uzumaki, was a pioneer in combining medical techniques with sealing jutsu. Tsunade, who we're going to find, continued that tradition and revolutionized the field. Sakura's eyes lit up with scholarly interest. Do you think, would she be willing to teach me? If you demonstrate the necessary dedication and chakra control, Naruto replied thoughtfully, and you certainly have the latter in abundance. This conversation planted a seed that would later flourish into Sakura's apprenticeship under Tsunade, completing the parallel of the new Sannin that many had already begun to see in Team 7. On the morning of his departure with Jiraiya, Naruto visited one final location, the Hokage Monument. He stood atop the stone head of the First Hokage, gazing out over the village that both he and Hashirama had cherished. We've come full circle, he murmured to himself. You created this village to end the cycle of conflict, to provide a safe haven for children to grow up without the constant shadow of war. And now, I carry that same responsibility. The wind rustled through his hair as he placed his palm against the stone. With a small application of chakra, he created a tiny flowering tree that took root in a crack on the monument, a private marker of his connection to the man whose face was carved into the mountain. I won't fail what you started, he promised. The will of fire will continue to burn, and the dream of true peace will live on, not just for Konoha, but for all the shinobi world. As Naruto turned to leave, he felt a profound sense of purpose settling over him. The journey ahead would be challenging, finding Tsunade, training to control the Nine-Tails chakra, preparing for the inevitable confrontation with Akatsuki. But for the first time, he felt truly ready to face these challenges, not just as Naruto Uzumaki or as Hashirama's reincarnation, but as the unique synthesis of both, a shinobi with the heart of a child and the wisdom of a Hokage. Jiraiya waited at the village gates, his usual carefree demeanor tempered by the seriousness of their mission. "Ready, kid?" he asked as Naruto approached. Naruto nodded, adjusting the headband that marked him as a shinobi of the leaf. Ready. As they passed through the gates and onto the road beyond, Naruto cast one final glance back at Konoha, at the village that represented both his past and his future, his legacy and his responsibility. "Let's go find the next Hokage," he said with determination. And with that, they set off down the path that would lead not just to Tsunade, but to the next chapter in the extraordinary life of a boy who carried within him the spirit of the God of Shinobi and the unwavering will of fire. The road stretched before them like a promise, winding through forests and valleys as Naruto and Jiraiya made their way from Konoha. They traveled in companionable silence for the first few miles, each lost in thought about the mission ahead. "So," Jiraiya finally said, breaking the quiet, "where do we start looking for my stubborn teammate?" "Tanzaku Town," Naruto replied without hesitation. Based on her pattern of movement over the last few years, she's likely heading there next. The gambling circuit is holding a major tournament, and she rarely misses those. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. "And you know this how?" "Hashirama kept track of his family, even from a distance," Naruto explained with a small smile. "Some habits persist across lifetimes." "That's going to take some getting used to," Jiraiya muttered. "Having a 12-year-old talk about people as if he's their grandfather." "Technically great-grandfather in Tsunade's case," Naruto corrected lightly. "And I'm nearly 13 now." "Oh, well, that changes everything," Jiraiya replied with exaggerated relief. "Just a wise old man of 13. Nothing strange about that at all." As they continued their journey, Jiraiya began Naruto's training in earnest. The Toad Sage was particularly interested in how Naruto's unique chakra, a blend of his own, the Nine-Tails, and the wood release, would interact with summoning techniques. "The Toads have served the Senju for generations," Jiraiya explained as they practiced. "Even before Hashirama's time, they might recognize something in you." When Naruto successfully performed the summoning technique for the first time, the result was not what either of them expected. Rather than Gamabunta or one of the other battle toads, he summoned Fukasaku, one of the two great sage toads of Mount Myoboku. "Interesting," the diminutive toad said, studying Naruto carefully. "Very interesting indeed. I haven't felt this chakra signature in decades. Jiraiya boy, what have you gotten yourself into now?" "That's a long story, Pa," Jiraiya replied respectfully. "One I think you'll find fascinating." After explaining Naruto's situation, Fukasaku hopped closer to the boy, examining him with ancient eyes that seemed to see beyond the physical. "Yes, I see it now," the Toad Sage nodded. "The same spirit that once stood before us, asking for our alliance in founding his village. Hashirama Senju lives again in this child." He turned to Jiraiya. "Does he know about Sage mode?" "We haven't gotten that far," Jiraiya admitted. "Perhaps we should," Fukasaku suggested. "This boy's natural affinity for natural energy through the wood release could make him an exceptional sage. The training would normally wait until he's older, but given the circumstances..." "I'm ready," Naruto stated confidently. Hashirama's memories include his sage training, though he approached it differently than the Toad method. Fukasaku looked surprised. "The Slug Sage path? That was thought lost even in Hashirama's time." "Not lost," Naruto corrected. "Just closely guarded by the Senju, Hashirama combined elements of both traditions to create his own approach. It's what allowed him to maintain Sage mode for extended periods during battle." "Fascinating," Fukasaku murmured. "We'll need to explore this further. But not today. You have a mission to complete first. Find Tsunade, and when that's done, we'll discuss your sage training." As the toad disappeared in a puff of smoke, Jiraiya looked at Naruto with newfound respect. "You continue to surprise me, kid. But remember, having Hashirama's memories doesn't mean your body can handle his techniques yet. We'll take this one step at a time." "Agreed," Naruto nodded. That's why finding Tsunade is so important. As a medical ninja, she can help me understand how to safely develop this body to accommodate the chakra demands of the more advanced techniques. Their journey to Tanzaku Town took them through several small villages, each providing opportunities for training and intelligence gathering. In one such village, they encountered a festival celebrating the anniversary of a visit from the First Hokage decades earlier. They still remember him, Naruto observed quietly as they watched children performing a play about Hashirama bringing peace to warring villages. The God of Shinobi left an impression wherever he went, Jiraiya replied. Not just through his power, but through his compassion. That's the true legacy you carry. Naruto nodded thoughtfully, watching as the child actor playing Hashirama extended hands of friendship to former enemies. It's strange, seeing him portrayed by others when I carry his memories inside me. Like watching a reflection in water, recognizable but somehow distorted. How much do you remember? Jiraiya asked curiously. Of his life, I mean. Most of it, Naruto replied. Though some periods are clearer than others. His childhood during the clan wars, the founding of Konoha, his battles with Madara, his family life with Mito and their children. A shadow passed over his face. His death. That must be disorienting, Jiraiya observed. It was at first, Naruto acknowledged, especially since his memories began emerging when I was very young, but over time, they've integrated with my own experiences. Now it feels less like having two separate sets of memories and more like having lived an unusually long and complex life. And the emotional aspects, Jiraiya pressed, do you feel his emotions too? Naruto was quiet for a moment, considering the question. Yes and no. I remember how he felt, but those emotions are tempered by distance. Like reading a deeply moving story, you understand and empathize with the feelings described, but they aren't quite your own. He smiled slightly. Except when it comes to Konoha, his love for the village resonates perfectly with mine. In that, we are identical. As they neared Tanzaku Town, they began hearing rumors of a legendary sucker who had actually won a significant sum at the gambling tables, a sure sign that Tsunade was indeed nearby. She only wins when something bad is about to happen, Jiraiya explained grimly. It's a quirk of her terrible luck. We'd better find her quickly. They located Tsunade in a small sake house on the outskirts of town, accompanied by her assistant Shizune and a small pet pig named Tauntaun. The legendary medic was already several bottles deep into her evening, her cheeks flushed with alcohol and her recent gambling victory. Well, she slurred upon seeing Jiraiya approach their table. If it isn't my old teammate, what disaster brings you crawling to me this time? The usual, Jiraiya replied with forced lightness. Village in crisis, need for leadership, that sort of thing. Tsunade snorted derisively. Not interested. Find someone else to wear that cursed hat. Her gaze shifted to Naruto, narrowing slightly as she took in his appearance. Who's the kid? Don't tell me you've finally taken a proper apprentice. Something like that, Jiraiya hedged, gesturing for Naruto to introduce himself. Naruto stepped forward, meeting Tsunade's amber eyes directly. Hello, Tsunade Jaime. It's been a long time. There was something in his tone, a gentle authority, a familiar cadence, that made Tsunade freeze mid-drink. She set her sake cup down slowly, studying the boy with suddenly sharp attention. What did you call me? She asked, all traces of intoxication seemingly vanished. Tsunade Hime, Naruto repeated. It's what your grandfather always called you. The legendary medic's face paled. Who are you? Naruto Uzumaki, he replied simply. But I also carry the memories and abilities of Hashirama Senju. Tsunade's laugh was harsh and disbelieving. Is this some kind of sick joke, Jiraiya? Using a child to manipulate me with my grandfather's memory? It's no joke, Jiraiya assured her seriously. Show her, Naruto. Without a word, Naruto placed his palm on the wooden table. Beneath his hand, the grain of the wood began to shift and swirl, rising up to form a perfect miniature replica of the Hokage residence as it had looked when it was first built, before any renovations or additions. It was a detail only someone who had seen the original structure would know. Tsunade stared at the model, her hand trembling slightly as she reached out to touch it. That's exactly how it looked when I was a child, she whispered, before the eastern wing was added. You used to hide in the supply closet on the second floor when you were avoiding your lessons. Naruto said softly. Hashirama would pretend not to know where you were, even though he could sense your chakra anywhere in the village. A single tear slipped down Tsunade's cheek. How is this possible? We don't fully understand it ourselves, Jiraiya admitted. But there's no denying the truth. Naruto possesses not just the wood release, but Hashirama's memories and tactical mind as well. We need to talk privately, Tsunade declared, suddenly all business. She turned to Shizune. Get us a room upstairs, now. Once secluded in a private room, Tsunade subjected Naruto to a thorough examination, her medical chakra probing his pathways with expert precision. Extraordinary, she murmured. Your chakra system has adapted to accommodate both your own nature and the wood release, something that should be physically impossible without Hashirama's exact genetic structure. Her eyes narrowed. Unless someone has been experimenting with my grandfather's cells again. No, Naruto assured her. This manifestation was natural, triggered when I first accessed the Nine-Tails chakra during a moment of extreme stress. Something about the combination of Uzumaki lineage, the fox's chakra, and my own nature unlocked what was already there. Reincarnation, Tsunade said skeptically. That's what you're claiming? I don't claim to understand the mechanism, Naruto replied carefully. I only know the result. I have his memories, his abilities, and his dedication to the village he founded. He met her gaze steadily. The village that now needs your leadership. Tsunade turned away, crossing to the window to stare out at the night. Why me? If you truly carry my grandfather's spirit, why not take the position yourself? Because I'm 12 years old, Naruto replied with a hint of humor. And because the village needs someone with your specific strengths right now, your medical expertise, your combat experience, and yes, your connection to its history through the Senju name. Pretty words, Tsunade scoffed. Just like him. But the reality is that the position is cursed. Everyone who takes it dies young, sacrificing themselves for a village that just demands more and more. Is that really what you believe? Naruto asked quietly. Or is it what grief has led you to believe? There's a difference. Tsunade spun to face him, anger flashing in her eyes. Don't you dare presume to understand my grief. I don't presume, Naruto replied calmly. Hashirama knew the pain of losing brothers in battle, of watching friends die for causes that sometimes seemed meaningless in retrospect. He carried that grief every day of his life, yet still believed in the village as the best hope for a better future. And look where that got us, Tsunade retorted bitterly. Decades of war, children still dying on battlefields, nothing has changed. That's not true, Jiraiya interjected. Children live longer now. They train before they fight. Villages provide structure and support that didn't exist in the clan war era. It's not perfect, but it's better. And it can be better still, Naruto added, but only if those with the power to effect change accept the responsibility to do so. Tsunade studied him for a long moment, seeing beyond the youthful face to the ancient wisdom behind his blue eyes. You really believe that, don't you? Even after everything you've seen across 2 lifetimes. I do, Naruto confirmed simply. Give me the night to think about it, Tsunade finally said. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. After Jiraiya and Naruto departed, Shizune turned to her mentor worriedly. Lady Tsunade, you're not seriously considering this, are you? After all this time away from the village? I don't know, Tsunade admitted, staring at the small wooden model of the Hokage residence that Naruto had left behind. But that boy, he reminds me of more than just my grandfather. He has something I haven't seen in a long time. What's that? Shizune asked. Hope, Tsunade replied softly. Genuine, unshakable hope, despite everything. That night, as Naruto meditated in their rented room, Jiraiya observed him curiously. You handled that well, better than I would have expected from someone your age. I've had practice delivering difficult truths, Naruto replied, opening his eyes, though usually to enemies rather than allies. And which category does Tsunade fall into right now? Jiraiya asked wryly. Naruto smiled. Neither. She's family, both to Hashirama and, distantly, to me through my Uzumaki heritage. Family arguments are in a category all their own. Speaking of family, Jiraiya said, his tone becoming more serious, there's something we need to discuss. Information about Akatsuki has been coming in from my network, and it seems they're accelerating their plans. 2 of their members were spotted near Konoha shortly after we left. Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki, Naruto nodded. I sensed them approaching. That's part of why I agreed to leave the village, to draw their attention away from Sasuke. You knew they were coming? Jiraiya asked, surprised. I suspected, Naruto clarified. The wood release allows me to sense chakra disturbances across considerable distances, especially when they involve powerful signatures like those two. And you didn't think to mention this? I calculated that they would follow us rather than risk a confrontation in Konoha itself, Naruto explained, which gives us an advantage, choosing the time and place of engagement away from civilians. Jiraiya shook his head in amazement. You really do think like a Hokage, don't you? Planning several moves ahead, considering all the angles. Not always, Naruto admitted with a genuinely childlike grin. Sometimes I still just want ramen. This moment of levity was interrupted by a subtle disturbance in the air, a barely perceptible shift that Naruto recognized immediately. They're here, he said, rising to his feet. In the hotel. No sooner had he spoken than a firm knock came at their door. Jiraiya moved to answer it, positioning himself protectively in front of Naruto, though the gesture seemed almost comical given what they both knew of the boy's capabilities. Outside stood Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki, cloaked in the distinctive black with red clouds that marked them as members of Akatsuki. Jiraiya of the Sannin, Itachi acknowledged coolly. And Naruto Uzumaki, we've come for the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Bold of you to announce yourselves, Jiraiya replied, his casual demeanor belying his combat readiness, especially when you're outnumbered. Kisame grinned, revealing shark-like teeth. Outnumbered? I count 2 on each side, unless you mean the kid is backup, which hardly seems fair to count. Your intelligence is outdated, Naruto stated calmly, stepping forward beside Jiraiya. I am not merely the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Without further warning, wooden pillars erupted from the floor, walls, and ceiling, forcing the Akatsuki members to leap backward into the hallway. As they retreated, the entire corridor transformed, wooden branches growing with astonishing speed to create a constricting tunnel. Wood release, Itachi observed, his Sharingan activating as he analyzed the technique. Impossible. And yet, here we are, Naruto replied, walking forward as the wood parted before him like water. Kisame swung his massive sword, Samehada, slicing through several branches. What the hell is this, Itachi? No one mentioned the kid could use the First Hokage's techniques. A development worthy of investigation, Itachi replied, his voice betraying nothing of his thoughts. But it changes nothing about our mission. I disagree, Naruto countered. It changes everything. He formed a series of hand seals. Wood release, great forest technique. His arm transformed into a mass of wooden branches that shot toward the Akatsuki members with extraordinary speed. Kisame blocked with Samehada, which growled hungrily as it absorbed the chakra from the wood, while Itachi simply sidestepped the attack with fluid grace. Impressive control for one so young, Itachi commented. But you lack experience. Do I? Naruto asked, a small smile playing on his lips. As he spoke, the wooden branches that Kisame had cut sprouted anew, wrapping around Samehada and beginning to absorb the sword's stored chakra in reverse. Kisame yanked his sword free with a curse. The damn wood is feeding on Samehada. Wood release techniques are particularly effective against chakra-absorbing entities, Naruto explained. They can both give and take chakra as needed. While this exchange occurred, Jiraiya had been quietly forming his own technique. Ninja art Toad Mouth Trap. The hallway transformed further, the wooden elements blending with the distinctive pink tissue of the toad esophagus technique. Retreat, Itachi ordered suddenly, his Sharingan analyzing the combined threats. This confrontation is no longer advantageous. Running already? Kisame complained, even as he followed Itachi's lead. Tactical withdrawal, Itachi corrected. We need to report this development. As the Akatsuki members fled, bursting through a wall rather than fighting their way through the transformed corridor, Jiraiya turned to Naruto with newfound respect. You forced Itachi Uchiha into retreat, he said incredulously. Do you realize how few people can claim that? He wasn't fighting seriously, Naruto observed. Neither was I. That was a reconnaissance encounter for both sides. Even so, Jiraiya insisted, you've just announced your presence on the world stage in a very significant way. Word of this will spread. Good, Naruto replied firmly. Let them know that the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is not an easy target. It might make them reconsider their approach. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Tsunade, who had sensed the chakra disturbance from nearby. "What happened here?" she demanded, taking in the transformed hallway with expert eyes. "Akatsuki," Jiraiya explained briefly. "After Naruto, they've retreated for now." Tsunade's gaze shifted to Naruto, reassessing him with newfound seriousness. "You drove them off? With wood release?" "With caution on their part," Naruto clarified. "They weren't expecting it." "I've made my decision," Tsunade announced abruptly. "I'll return to Konoha and accept the position of Hokage on one condition." "Name it," Jiraiya replied. "The boy comes with me," she said, nodding toward Naruto, "and submits to a complete medical evaluation. If he truly carries my grandfather's abilities, I want to understand exactly how they manifest and develop." "Agreed," Naruto said before Jiraiya could respond. "But there's something else you should know. Orochimaru is likely to approach you soon. He's lost the use of his arms thanks to the third Hokage's final technique, and he'll seek your medical expertise to repair them." Tsunade's eyes widened slightly. "How could you know that?" "A combination of intelligence gathered during the invasion and strategic assessment," Naruto replied. "Orochimaru needs his arms for jutsu. You're the only medical ninja skilled enough to help him. The conclusion is obvious." "And if he does approach me?" Tsunade asked, a calculating look in her eyes. "We'll be prepared," Naruto assured her. "But we should appear not to be. Let him think his approach is unexpected." Jiraiya laughed softly, setting traps within traps. "You really are Hashirama's successor in more than just techniques." True to Naruto's prediction, Orochimaru approached Tsunade the very next day, offering to resurrect her loved ones in exchange for healing his arms. The Snake Sanin was accompanied by Kabuto Yakushi, his right-hand assistant, and a formidable medical ninja in his own right. What Orochimaru didn't realize was that Tsunade had already planned this encounter with Naruto and Jiraiya, setting the stage for a confrontation on their terms rather than his. 1 week, Tsunade told Orochimaru, feigning consideration of his offer. "I need 1 week to decide." "Don't take too long, Princess," Orochimaru replied with a sinister smile. "This offer has a strict expiration date." After the Snake Sanin departed, Tsunade turned to her allies. "He suspects nothing, but that assistant of his, Kabuto, he's more perceptive. He was watching too carefully." "We'll need to be cautious," Naruto agreed. "Kabuto is dangerous precisely because he's so often underestimated." They spent the following days preparing for the inevitable confrontation while also continuing Naruto's training. Tsunade was particularly interested in how his wood release techniques differed from her grandfather's. "Your cellular regeneration rate is extraordinary," she observed during one examination. "Almost as rapid as my creation rebirth technique, but without the drawback of shortened lifespan. It's as if the wood release is constantly healing you at a microscopic level." "Hashirama had the same ability," Naruto confirmed. "It's why he could fight for days without rest and recover from injuries that would kill others. But sustaining it must require enormous chakra reserves," Tsunade noted. "That's where the Nine-Tails comes in," Naruto explained. "Its chakra supplements my own, creating a reserve that, while not unlimited, is substantial enough to maintain these abilities." On the day of their arranged meeting with Orochimaru, they gathered at an open plain outside Tanzaku Town, a location carefully selected by Naruto for its distance from civilians and its soil composition, which was ideal for wood release techniques. Orochimaru arrived with Kabuto, his expression confident as he approached Tsunade. "Have you made your decision, Princess? Will you heal my arms in exchange for seeing your beloved Dan and brother again?" "I've considered your offer," Tsunade replied evenly, "and I've decided that some things should remain in the past. The dead deserve their rest." Orochimaru's eyes narrowed dangerously. "A pity. I had hoped to avoid unpleasantness." "That ship sailed when you betrayed Konoha," Jiraiya remarked, stepping forward beside Tsunade. "When you experimented on children. When you killed our teacher." "Ah, the gang's all here?" Orochimaru observed with mock delight. "A reunion of the legendary Sannin. How nostalgic." His gaze shifted to Naruto, who stood slightly behind the two older shinobi. "And you brought the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. How thoughtful of you to deliver him directly to me." "You misunderstand the situation," Naruto stated calmly. as usual. Before Orochimaru could respond, Naruto slammed his palm to the ground. Wood release, deep forest emergence. The earth beneath them trembled as massive trees erupted upward, transforming the plain into a dense forest within seconds. The scale of the technique was far beyond what Naruto had demonstrated previously, approaching the level that Hashirama himself had been capable of in his prime. Kabuto leaped away in shock, while Orochimaru's eyes widened with genuine surprise and covetousness. Magnificent, the Snake Sannin breathed. So the rumors are true. Somehow, you fully manifested the wood release. Not just the technique, Naruto replied, his voice taking on the deeper resonance that sometimes emerged when he channeled Hashirama's presence most strongly. The understanding behind it, the connection to all living things that you, Orochimaru, could never grasp with your obsession with death and immortality. Bold words from a child, Orochimaru hissed, his initial surprise giving way to calculation. But even Hashirama's power won't save you against all three of us. 3? Jiraiya questioned. From the tree line emerged 6 figures, shinobi reanimated through Orochimaru's impure world reincarnation technique. Among them were the first and second Hokages, though their expressions were vacant, their personalities suppressed by Orochimaru's control talismans. A gift I prepared specially, Orochimaru explained with malicious delight. I thought Tsunade might appreciate seeing her relatives again, even under these circumstances. Tsunade stared at the reanimated forms of her grandfather and granduncle, horror and rage warring on her features. You dare, she whispered. You dare desecrate them this way? Fitting, isn't it? Orochimaru taunted. The legendary founders of Konoha, now tools in its destruction. Naruto stepped forward, his expression solemn as he faced the reanimated form of Hashirama. This is wrong, he said quietly. Using the dead this way goes against everything the natural world stands for. Nature is cruel, Orochimaru countered. It takes without mercy. I merely balance the scales by returning what it has stolen. No. Naruto shook his head. You pervert the natural cycle for your own desires. That's why your techniques will always be flawed. They lack harmony with the world around them. As he spoke, Naruto formed a unique hand seal, one that combined elements of the wood release with the sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan. Wood release, nativity of a world of trees. The forest around them responded instantly, the trees growing and shifting with conscious intent. Roots erupted from the ground beneath the reanimated shinobi, wrapping around their legs and torsos. What is this? Kabuto demanded, adjusting his glasses as he analyzed the technique. The trees are targeting the reanimation specifically. Wood release has always been particularly effective against chakra constructs, Naruto explained, including those created through the impure world reincarnation. The trees recognize the imbalance in their existence and seek to correct it. The reanimated Hashirama turned his head slowly to look at Naruto, a flicker of consciousness breaking through Orochimaru's control. You carry my will, he said, his voice distant and hollow. Yes, Naruto confirmed solemnly, and I will not allow your memory to be used this way. With those words, he completed a final seal. Sealing technique, nativity purification. The trees surrounding the reanimated shinobi blossomed suddenly, white flowers opening in waves that released pollen glowing with chakra. As the particles settled on the reanimations, they began to neutralize the chakra binding the souls to their artificial bodies. Impossible, Orochimaru snarled. You cannot undo the impure world reincarnation so easily. Not undoing, Naruto corrected, purifying, releasing these souls back to their rightful rest while returning the sacrificed bodies to their natural state. As the technique progressed, the reanimated Hashirama looked directly at Naruto once more. Continue. What I began, he said, his voice stronger now as Orochimaru's control weakened further. But find your own path. I will, Naruto promised. With those words, the reanimations crumbled, soil and ash falling away as the bound souls were released. The sacrificed bodies fell unconscious, alive but no longer vessels for the dead. Orochimaru's fury was palpable. You've become an even greater annoyance than I anticipated, he hissed at Naruto. Perhaps I should stop trying to capture you and simply eliminate the threat you pose. He lunged forward with blinding speed, his kusanagi blade extending from his mouth despite his useless arms. The sword aimed directly for Naruto's heart, too fast for most shinobi to evade. But Naruto was not most shinobi. His body transformed partially into wood at the moment of impact, the blade passing through a section of his chest that had become a dense wooden structure rather than vulnerable flesh. Your attacks lack conviction, Naruto observed calmly, looking down at the blade embedded in his wooden chest. You don't truly want to kill me. You want to study me, to understand how I obtained this power so you can take it for yourself. With a swift motion, he grabbed the blade, wood spreading from his hand to envelop the legendary sword. Orochimaru was forced to release it or be pulled forward into a vulnerable position. Enough of this, Tsunade declared, stepping forward with chakra visibly gathering around her fist. It's time to finish what Sarutobi-sensei started. The battle that followed was cataclysmic, 3 legendary Sannin unleashing their full power while Naruto and Kabuto engaged in their own complex duel. The medical ninja proved remarkably adaptable, his chakra scalpels and analytical mind making him a dangerous opponent despite Naruto's superior raw power. Your techniques are impressive, Kabuto acknowledged as he dodged another wood construct. But your body still has limitations. You can't maintain this level of output indefinitely. Perhaps not, Naruto agreed, but I don't need to. As he spoke, he formed a unique seal, wood clone technique. Multiple wood clones emerged from the trees around them, each capable of independent action and possessing a portion of Naruto's chakra. They surrounded Kabuto, forcing him into an increasingly defensive posture. Meanwhile, the battle between the Sannin had reached its climax. Tsunade and Jiraiya, working in perfect coordination born from decades of shared combat experience, had pushed Orochimaru to his limits. Without the use of his arms for jutsu, even his formidable abilities were severely constrained. It seems a strategic withdrawal is in order, Orochimaru hissed, his body beginning to shed its skin in preparation for escape. Kabuto! The medical ninja disengaged from his battle with Naruto's clones, moving to his master's side with practiced efficiency. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Before they could retreat, Naruto slammed his hands together in a final technique. Wood release, World of Trees binding. The entire forest seemed to come alive, every tree reaching toward the snake Sannin and his assistant. The speed and scale of the technique were overwhelming, branches and roots converging from all directions. Orochimaru barely escaped, a portion of his reconstructed body left behind in the wooden prison. Kabuto was less fortunate, caught by multiple branches that pinned his limbs and disrupted his chakra flow. Release him, Orochimaru demanded, his voice strained from the effort of his partial escape. In exchange for your permanent departure from Fire Country, Naruto countered, and your agreement to cease targeting Konoha Shinobi. You're in no position to make demands, Orochimaru snarled. On the contrary, Naruto replied calmly, I could kill your assistant with a thought. The wood currently restraining him could pierce his vital organs instantly. Is his life worth less to you than your grudge against Konoha? For a moment, genuine conflict showed on Orochimaru's face, a rare display of emotion from the typically controlled Sannin. Very well, he finally conceded. I will withdraw from Fire Country, for now, and I will not target Konoha Shinobi directly, for a time. Carefully worded, Tsunade observed critically, but I suppose it's the best we'll get from a snake. With the agreement made, Naruto released Kabuto, who immediately moved to Orochimaru's side. The snake Sannin gave Naruto one final, measuring look. You continue to surprise me, boy, he said, something almost like respect in his voice. Our next encounter will be different. As they disappeared into the forest, Jiraiya turned to Naruto with an impressed whistle. You just negotiated terms with Orochimaru. I don't think I've ever seen him back down like that. He didn't back down, Naruto corrected. He recognized a temporary setback and adapted. We haven't seen the last of him. No, Tsunade agreed grimly. But we've bought time and demonstrated strength. Sometimes that's the best outcome possible. She studied Naruto with newfound respect. You handled yourself well. Not just the techniques, but the strategy. You're more than just Hashirama's power in a young body. Thank you, Naruto replied sincerely. Coming from you, that means a great deal. As they prepared to return to Konoha, Tsunade placed her grandfather's necklace around Naruto's neck, the same crystal that had once belonged to Hashirama himself. This belongs with you now, she said quietly. both as Naruto Uzumaki and as the carrier of my grandfather's will. The journey back to Konoha was marked by a sense of new beginning. Tsunade, having confronted both her past and the legacy of her family, seemed more at peace with her decision to become Hokage. Jiraiya, witnessing Naruto's growth, had begun treating him less as a child to be protected, and more as a partner in the challenges ahead. For Naruto himself, the confrontation with Orochimaru had confirmed something important. While he carried Hashirama's memories and abilities, his approach was distinct. Where Hashirama might have sought to destroy Orochimaru out of duty, Naruto had found a third path, one that acknowledged the humanity even in an enemy as seemingly irredeemable as the snake Sannin. "You're carving your own path," Jiraiya observed as they approached the gates of Konoha. "Using Hashirama's wisdom, but making your own choices. It's what he would have wanted," Naruto replied, touching the crystal necklace. "Not a carbon copy, but a new interpretation for a new era." Tsunade nodded in agreement. "My grandfather always believed that each generation should surpass the previous one. He'd be proud to see his techniques and philosophies evolving through you." As they passed through the gates, villagers gathered to witness the return of the legendary medic and the announcement of the fifth Hokage. But many eyes were drawn to Naruto, walking confidently beside two of the legendary Sannin, rumors of his newly revealed abilities already spreading throughout the village. Tsunade's inauguration as fifth Hokage marked the beginning of a new chapter for Konoha. Her first official act was to establish a comprehensive medical program for ninja, inspired by her conversations with Naruto about Hashirama's original vision for the village. Her second was to authorize a specialized training regimen for Naruto, designed to help him safely develop his unique combination of abilities. In the months that followed, Naruto divided his time between training with various specialists and reconnecting with his peers. His relationship with Sasuke remained complex, the Uchiha's competitiveness intensified by the revelation of Naruto's true capabilities, yet tempered by a growing mutual respect. "You're still holding back when we spar," Sasuke accused during one training session, after Naruto had countered his fire technique with a modest water wall rather than a more impressive wood release. "So are you," Naruto replied calmly. "You haven't used the Chidori once today." Sasuke scowled. "That's different. The Chidori depletes my chakra quickly, and wood release techniques alter the landscape in ways that make regular training difficult," Naruto countered. "We each adapt to our circumstances." "Show me," Sasuke demanded suddenly. "Show me what you can really do. Not here, somewhere away from the village. I want to see the power that drove off Itachi." Naruto studied his friend carefully, recognizing the complex emotions behind the request. "It's not just about power, Sasuke. It's about purpose. Hashirama had tremendous abilities, but without his vision for peace, they would have just made him another warlord." "Save the philosophy," Sasuke retorted. "I need to know what I'm measuring myself against." After a moment's consideration, Naruto nodded. "All right, tomorrow, at the Valley of the End. It's fitting, given the history." The next day, they stood atop the massive statues overlooking the valley, Sasuke on Madara's head, Naruto on Hashirama's. The symbolism was lost on neither of them. "This is where they had their final battle," Naruto explained. "Where two friends who wanted the same thing, peace, found themselves on opposite sides because they couldn't agree on how to achieve it. And Hashirama won," Sasuke stated. "In combat, yes," Naruto acknowledged, but in many ways he considered it his greatest failure. He defeated Madara but couldn't save him from his own darkness. "Show me," Sasuke repeated, ignoring the history lesson. "Show me what Hashirama's reincarnation can do." Naruto sighed softly but complied, forming a series of seals. Wood release, deep forest bloom. The valley floor transformed as massive trees erupted from the earth, growing with extraordinary speed to create a forest where none had existed before. Unlike a simple wood release technique, these trees immediately began to flower, blossoms opening in cascading waves of pink and white. "Pretty," Sasuke commented dismissively, but hardly combat effective. In response, Naruto formed another seal. The blossoms suddenly released their pollen in a synchronized burst, creating a cloud that shimmered with chakra. As the particles settled on the rocks and water below, they began to crystallize, transforming the landscape further. The pollen contains a specialized form of my chakra, Naruto explained. It can paralyze, heal, or alter the environment depending on my intent. In combat, it would immobilize anyone who breathed it in while simultaneously disrupting their chakra network. Before Sasuke could respond, Naruto continued with another technique. Wood release, several thousand hands. Behind him, a massive wooden structure began to form, the upper body of a 1,000-armed Buddha statue, each hand positioned to perform a different technique. It was one of Hashirama's most legendary abilities, the same technique he had used in his final battle with Madara. This, Naruto said quietly, is what defeated Madara, Uchiha, and the Nine-Tailed Fox simultaneously. Each hand can perform a different jutsu, allowing for combinations that overwhelm even the most powerful defenses. Sasuke stared at the colossal structure, his Sharingan activated to memorize every detail. And you can use this already? At full power? No, Naruto admitted, releasing the technique. The massive statue crumbled, returning to the earth from which it had grown. That was about 30% of its true capacity. My body isn't ready for the full version yet. When will it be? Sasuke asked. A few years, perhaps, Naruto replied. The wood release grows with me, adapting to my physical development. By 16 or 17, I should be able to manifest Hashirama's techniques at their full potential. Sasuke was silent for a long moment, processing this information. And where will that leave me? He finally asked, the question containing vulnerability rarely displayed by the proud Uchiha. As my friend and equal, Naruto replied without hesitation. The Sharingan has its own evolution path, Sasuke. The Mangekyo, if you can obtain it without falling to darkness, has abilities that even the wood release cannot match. You sound like you know more about my clan's eyes than I do, Sasuke observed with a hint of bitterness. Hashirama fought alongside and against many Uchiha, Naruto explained. He had great respect for the Sharingan's potential, but he also saw how its power could corrupt when obtained through hatred rather than love. Love? Sasuke scoffed. What does love have to do with power? Everything, Naruto replied simply. The strongest Uchiha were those who fought to protect what they loved, not to destroy what they hated. That's the truth Itachi doesn't want you to see. Sasuke's head snapped up. What do you know about Itachi? I know he's more complex than he appears, Naruto said carefully. And I know that the path of vengeance he set you on serves someone else's purpose, not yours. For a moment, it seemed Sasuke might attack, his chakra flaring with sudden anger. But instead, he turned away. You talk too much, he muttered, though the heat had left his voice. Let's head back. I've seen enough for today. As they returned to the village, Naruto sensed that something had shifted in their relationship. Sasuke had glimpsed the true extent of the power Naruto would eventually wield. Yet instead of driving them further apart, it seemed to have clarified something for the Uchiha. The months passed, bringing continued growth and occasional conflicts. Naruto's training expanded to include specialized sessions with Jiraiya focusing on Sage Mode, a natural complement to his wood release abilities. Meanwhile, the reformed Team 7, under Kakashi's continued leadership, took on increasingly complex missions that tested their evolving abilities. It was during one such mission, approximately a year after Tsunade's inauguration, that they encountered the first serious attempt by Orochimaru to capture Sasuke. The Snake Sanin had sent his elite guards, the Sound Four, to extend an offer to the Uchiha, power in exchange for loyalty. The timing was deliberately chosen during Naruto's absence from the village, as he was training with the Toads at Mount Myoboku. But Orochimaru had underestimated the bonds that had formed within Team 7. When offered power through the cursed seal, Sasuke made a decision that surprised everyone. He refused. I've seen what your seals do, he told the Sound Four coldly. They offer borrowed power at the cost of independence. I'll find my own strength, not lease it from Orochimaru. This rejection led to a direct confrontation, with the Sound Four attempting to take Sasuke by force. The battle drew in other Konoha genin, including Neji, Shikamaru, and Choji, all of whom had grown significantly in skill since the Chunin exams. When Naruto returned to find his friends injured, and Sasuke shaken but resolute in his decision to remain, he recognized a crucial turning point had been navigated successfully. You chose the harder path, he told Sasuke as they visited their recovering comrades in the hospital. building power slowly through training rather than taking the shortcut Orochimaru offered. "Don't misunderstand," Sasuke replied. "I didn't stay because of some sentimental attachment to the village. I stayed because I refused to be anyone's puppet. Not Itachi's, not Orochimaru's." "The reason matters less than the choice itself," Naruto observed, "and the fact that you made it freely." As they grew into their teenage years, the reputation of Team 7 spread beyond Konoha's borders. Naruto's unique abilities, Sasuke's evolving Sharingan, and Sakura's medical prowess under Tsunade's tutelage made them a formidable unit, often assigned to missions that would normally require Jonin. Naruto's relationship with the Nine-Tails also evolved during this period. The wood release naturally suppressed the fox's more malevolent influences, creating an opportunity for communication that most Jinchuriki never experienced. "You're not like the others," the Nine-Tails growled during one of their inner conversations. "You carry the chakra of that man, the only human I ever respected." "Hashirama," Naruto acknowledged. "He respected you too, you know. Not as a weapon to be used, but as a being of power deserving of dignity," the fox snorted derisively. "Pretty words, yet here I am, sealed away again." "For now," Naruto agreed, "but that doesn't have to be our permanent relationship." Hashirama envisioned a day when humans and tailed beasts could coexist without chains or cages. "Naive," the Nine-Tails dismissed, though with less venom than usual. "Humans will always fear what they cannot control." "Perhaps," Naruto conceded, "but change has to start somewhere. Why not with us?" These conversations, while often contentious, laid the groundwork for a more cooperative relationship than any previous Jinchuriki had achieved with their tailed beast. A partnership rather than a prison-prisoner dynamic. By the time Naruto reached 15, his control over wood release had progressed to near mastery. He could create forests across vast areas, manipulate plant life with microscopic precision, and even influence the weather patterns in limited regions through large-scale environmental manipulation. His diplomatic skills had likewise matured, informed by Hashirama's memories of nation-building and Naruto's own natural empathy. When Gaara became Kazekage at a similarly young age, Naruto was Konoha's natural choice as ambassador, helping to rebuild the alliance between their villages that Orochimaru had nearly destroyed. "You've changed," Gaara observed during one such diplomatic meeting. "There's less conflict in you now. The two aspects of your nature seem more integrated." "The same could be said of you and Shukaku," Naruto replied with a smile. "You're learning to work with your tailed beast rather than against it." "It's still a struggle," Gaara admitted. "But having seen what's possible through your example, it provides motivation." Their renewed alliance would soon be tested in ways neither young leader could have anticipated. Word reached Konoha that Akatsuki had accelerated their plans, successfully capturing several Jinchuriki from smaller nations, and their next target was clear: Gaara of the Sand. When the attack came, it was both swift and devastating. Despite his considerable power as Kazekage, Gaara was overwhelmed by the combined abilities of Sasori of the Red Sand and Deidara, Akatsuki's explosive specialist. The young Kazekage was captured and taken to a hidden location for extraction of the One Tail. Team 7, now consisting of Naruto, Sakura, and Sai, a replacement for Sasuke, who was on a separate mission with Kakashi, was immediately dispatched to assist the Sand Village. They were accompanied by Lady Chiyo, an elder of the Sand and Sasori's grandmother, who possessed crucial knowledge about their enemy. As they raced toward the extraction point, Naruto sensed through his connection to natural energy that Gaara's life force was fading rapidly. The wood release gave him unique sensitivity to living energies, and what he detected filled him with urgency. "They've already begun the extraction," he informed his team grimly. "We have less time than we thought." "Can Gaara survive if they remove the One Tail completely?" Sakura asked. "No Jinchuriki has ever survived a full extraction," Lady Chiyo replied somberly. "The process is invariably fatal." "Then we need a countermeasure," Naruto decided. "Sakura, do you remember the emergency life support technique Tsunade was developing?" The pink-haired kunoichi nodded. "Yes, but it's still experimental. It requires precise chakra control and can only sustain life functions temporarily." "It might be enough," Naruto said. "If we can interrupt the extraction and stabilize Gaara long enough, I may be able to use wood release to help his body adapt to the absence of the tailed beast chakra it's relied on since infancy. Their arrival at the Akatsuki hideout was met with prepared defenses. Deidara engaged Naruto directly, while Sasori confronted his grandmother and Sakura. The battles were intense, showcasing the extraordinary level these young shinobi had achieved. Naruto's confrontation with Deidara demonstrated how far his abilities had evolved. When the explosive specialist took to the air on his clay bird, confident in his advantage, Naruto simply raised his hand toward the sky. Wood release, flowering tree dominion. Massive wooden structures erupted from the ground, growing upward at incredible speed to create a canopy above the battlefield. The branches bloomed with flowers that released pollen containing paralytic properties, restricting Deidara's aerial mobility. "What the hell is this?" the Akatsuki member demanded, maneuvering his clay bird through the increasingly dense wooden maze. "This technique, it can't be!" "The wood release of Hashirama Senju," Naruto confirmed, directing the branches to encircle Deidara's position. Enhanced by natural energy and evolved for modern combat. Inside the hideout, Sakura and Lady Chiyo faced Sasori and his 100-puppet army, a legendary technique that had helped the puppet master conquer an entire nation. But Sakura's training under Tsunade had prepared her well, her monstrous strength and medical precision making her a formidable opponent even against overwhelming numbers. With their defenses engaged, Naruto created a wood clone to continue battling Deidara, while his true self pursued the extraction chamber. There he found a horrifying sight, Gaara suspended in midair, surrounded by the spectral form of the demonic statue, with several Akatsuki members maintaining the extraction technique through a complex ritual. "You're too late, Pain," the apparent leader informed him calmly. "The one tail is already mostly extracted. The Kazekage will be dead within minutes." "That's where you're wrong," Naruto replied, forming a unique seal. Wood release, tailed beast suppression sphere. Wooden branches shot toward the demonic statue, wrapping around its form and disrupting the chakra flow between it and Gaara. Simultaneously, additional branches encased Gaara in a protective sphere, infusing his body with life-sustaining energy. "Impossible," Kisame exclaimed. "He's interfering with the extraction directly." "Retreat," Pain ordered, recognizing the threat Naruto posed to their entire operation. "Take what we have of the One Tail and withdraw. We'll deal with the Nine Tails another time." As the Akatsuki members fled, their projections disappearing one by one, Naruto rushed to Gaara's side. The Kazekage was barely alive, his chakra network severely damaged by the partial extraction. "Sakura!" Naruto called as his teammate entered the chamber. "I need your medical skills, now!" Working together with Lady Chiyo, they initiated an emergency treatment protocol. Sakura's precise chakra control stabilized Gaara's critical systems, while Naruto's wood release techniques helped rebuild the damaged pathways that had once contained the One Tail. "It's not enough," Lady Chiyo finally admitted, her aged hands trembling with effort. "The damage is too extensive. Without the One Tail, his body simply can't sustain itself." "Then we need a different approach," Naruto decided. He placed his hands directly on Gaara's chest, channeling a unique form of chakra, a blend of his own life force, wood release energy, and a carefully controlled portion of the Nine Tails' power. Life force transfer, vitality implantation. This technique, one he had developed through years of studying Hashirama's cellular regeneration capabilities, allowed for the transfer of life energy directly from one being to another. It was dangerous to the user, potentially shortening their own lifespan. But Naruto's Uzumaki vitality and the Nine Tails' regenerative properties mitigated the risk. "What are you doing?" Sakura asked worriedly, monitoring both Naruto's and Gaara's vital signs. "Giving him what he needs to survive without his tailed beast," Naruto explained through gritted teeth. "A portion of my own life force, modified to be compatible with his chakra network." Lady Chiyo watched in astonishment. "Such a technique, it's similar to the forbidden life transfer jutsu of my village, but without the fatal consequence to the user." "Not quite without consequence," Naruto corrected, sweat beading on his forehead from the strain. "But one I'm willing to accept for a friend." Gradually, color returned to Gaara's pale features. His breathing steadied, and his chakra network began adapting to its new configuration, no longer containing a tailed beast, but sustained by the hybrid life force Naruto had implanted. When the Kazekage finally opened his eyes, confusion and wonder filled his gaze. "The voice is gone," he whispered. "Shukaku is gone, yet I still live." "You're the first Jinchuriki to survive extraction," Naruto confirmed, helping his friend sit up. "Though you're no longer a Jinchuriki in the technical sense." "How?" Gaara asked simply. "Through a combination of medical ninjutsu, wood release, and something more fundamental," Naruto explained. "A willingness to share life rather than just preserve it." Lady Chiyo's aged eyes filled with tears as she witnessed this miracle, a direct repudiation of the lonely, weaponized existence that her village had forced upon Gaara from infancy. "In my long life," she said quietly, "I have seen countless jutsu designed to take life, but this is what the true purpose of ninjutsu should be." The return to Sunagakure was triumphant, with their Kazekage alive and fundamentally transformed. Though no longer a Jinchuriki, Gaara retained much of his control over sand, a skill that had become intrinsic to his own chakra nature rather than merely borrowed from Shukaku. More importantly, he returned with a new perspective on life and leadership, free from the constant internal struggle that had defined his existence since childhood. His gratitude toward Naruto and Konoha cemented an alliance between their villages that would prove crucial in the conflicts to come. Back in Konoha, the implications of what Naruto had accomplished spread rapidly through the shinobi ranks. He had not only rescued a Kage and thwarted Akatsuki, but had performed a medical miracle previously thought impossible. Tsunade insisted on a thorough examination to understand exactly what he had done. "The cellular structure you created to replace the tailed beast's influence is remarkable," she explained, showing him the microscopic analysis. "It's a hybrid of your Uzumaki vitality, wood release properties, and something else I can't quite identify." "The something else is what Hashirama called the breath of life," Naruto explained. "It's not exactly chakra, but a more fundamental energy that exists in all living things. Through wood release, I can sense and manipulate it to a limited degree." "Could this technique be taught to others?" Tsunade asked, the medical researcher in her fascinated by the possibilities. Naruto shook his head. "Not in its current form. It requires both wood release and an unusually strong life force to perform safely. Without those, the user would die in the process of saving the recipient." "Like my strength of 100 technique but more extreme," Tsunade mused. "Still, the implications for medical ninjutsu are profound. If we could develop even a partial version." This conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a messenger bird from Jiraiya, who had been away gathering intelligence on Akatsuki. The message was brief but urgent. "Return immediately. Critical information on Akatsuki leadership. Possible link to Konoha's past." Jiraiya's intelligence proved both revelatory and disturbing. The leader of Akatsuki, the figure called Pain, possessed the legendary Rinnegan, the same visual Kekkei Genkai that had belonged to the Sage of Six Paths himself. "But that's not all," Jiraiya explained grimly. "Based on my investigation, I believe Pain is actually Nagato, a student I trained in Omegakure during the last war, a student I thought had died years ago." "Your student has the Rinnegan?" Tsunade asked incredulously. "He was an Uzumaki by birth," Jiraiya confirmed, "with a natural affinity for powerful sealing techniques and an extraordinary chakra reserve. The Rinnegan manifested during a traumatic incident when his parents were killed." Naruto absorbed this information thoughtfully. "An Uzumaki with the Rinnegan, leading an organization hunting tailed beasts. The pattern suggests a specific goal related to the Sage of Six Paths' legacy." "My thoughts exactly," Jiraiya agreed, "which is why I need to confirm my suspicions personally. I'm going to infiltrate Omegakure and verify Nagato's identity and objectives." "That's too dangerous," Tsunade objected immediately. "Omegakure is completely controlled by Pain. No spy has ever returned from there." "Which is why I have to go myself," Jiraiya insisted. "No one else knows Nagato like I do. If there's any chance of reaching him, of understanding what drove him to this path, it's me." Naruto studied his mentor carefully. "You're not just going for intelligence. You're going because you feel responsible for what he's become." Jiraiya's usual jovial expression sobered. "When you train someone, pass on your knowledge and beliefs. You bear some responsibility for what they do with those gifts. I taught Nagato about peace, about breaking the cycle of hatred. Somewhere along the way, he found a different interpretation of those lessons. "Let me go with you," Naruto suggested. "Together, we'd have a better chance." "No," Jiraiya refused firmly. "Your abilities are too valuable to risk, and your connection to the wood release is too important for the battles ahead. Besides, two infiltrators are more likely to be detected than one." Despite further protests from both Naruto and Tsunade, Jiraiya's mind was made up. He departed for Amegakure the following day, leaving Naruto with a sense of foreboding that no amount of rational thought could dispel. That sense proved tragically prophetic. Weeks later, news reached Konoha that Jiraiya had fallen in battle against Pain. He had managed to send back critical intelligence before his death, confirmation that Pain was indeed Nagato, along with details about the Six Paths technique that allowed him to control multiple bodies simultaneously. Naruto received this news with a profound stillness that concerned those who knew him well. Unlike the emotional outburst had characterized his early childhood, this grief manifested as a deep, meditative silence. For 3 days, he secluded himself in the forests outside Konoha, communing with nature in a manner reminiscent of Hashirama during his own periods of mourning. When he emerged, there was a new resolution in his eyes, a determination tempered by sorrow but not consumed by it. "I'm going to complete Jiraiya's mission," he announced to Tsunade. "Not just to gather intelligence on Pain, but to confront him directly." "Absolutely not," the fifth Hokage refused. "Jiraiya was one of the most powerful shinobi in our history, and even he couldn't defeat Pain. You're not ready for that confrontation." "With respect, Hokage-sama," Naruto replied formally, "I believe I am. Not because I'm stronger than Jiraiya-sensei was, but because I offer something different, something Pain might actually listen to." "And what's that?" Tsunade challenged. "A genuine path to peace that doesn't require the sacrifice of others," Naruto explained. "Pain, Nagato, is an Uzumaki who witnessed the horrors of war firsthand. He's not seeking destruction for its own sake. He's pursuing a distorted vision of peace through overwhelming power. I can show him another way." "Through what? Talk no jutsu?" Tsunade scoffed, though there was concern behind her bravado. "Through understanding," Naruto corrected. "And yes, through words when possible, but also through demonstration of a different kind of strength, the kind that builds rather than destroys." After much debate, a compromise was reached. Naruto would not immediately pursue Pain to Amegakure. Instead, he would complete his sage training at Mount Myoboku, developing the skills that might give him a fighting chance against the Rinnegan's formidable abilities. This training proceeded with unprecedented speed. Naruto's natural affinity for natural energy through the wood release, combined with his deep understanding of Hashirama's approach to sage mode, allowed him to master techniques that typically required years of practice. Remarkable, Fukasaku commented as Naruto maintained perfect sage mode without the need for stillness. "You've integrated natural energy into your chakra system in a way I've never seen before. It flows continuously, like a river joining the ocean." "The wood release naturally draws in natural energy," Naruto explained. "By synchronizing my chakra circulation with that flow, I can maintain sage mode indefinitely without the usual drawbacks." "And when combined with your wood release techniques?" the elder toad inquired. In response, Naruto formed a single seal. The entire mountain around them resonated with natural energy, flowers blooming instantaneously across the landscape as trees grew with visible speed. "Sage art, wood release, true, several thousand hands," he intoned. Behind him, the massive wooden Buddha statue formed once again, but unlike his earlier version shown to Sasuke, this manifestation radiated with natural energy. Each of the 1,000 hands glowed with concentrated power, capable of executing techniques far beyond standard ninjutsu. "This," Naruto stated quietly, "is the technique at its full potential. What Hashirama used to subdue the Nine Tails and defeat Madara at the Valley of the End." Fukasaku stared in awe. "With this power, you might indeed have a chance against the Rinnegan. But remember, young Naruto, great power requires great wisdom in its application." "I know," Naruto nodded, releasing the technique. "That's why I won't use it to destroy Pain, but to reach Nagato, to show him that true power lies in creation, not destruction." When Naruto returned to Konoha, he found a village preparing for war. Intelligence suggested that Akatsuki was planning direct action against the remaining Jinchuriki, with Naruto himself as a primary target. What no one anticipated was how soon that attack would come, or the form it would take. Pain's assault on Konoha began without warning. 6 distinct bodies, each wielding a different aspect of the Rinnegan's power, infiltrating the village simultaneously. Their coordinated attack overwhelmed the initial defenses, with the Deva Path's gravitational abilities proving particularly devastating. Naruto, who had been meditating at the Hokage monument, sensed the attack through his connection to the trees he had planted throughout the village. He immediately activated Sage Mode, extending his awareness to assess the full scope of the invasion. 6 distinct chakra signatures, all carrying the same fundamental energy, he observed. Just as Jiraiya reported, the 6 paths of pain. Rather than rushing directly into battle, Naruto placed his hands on the monument, channeling chakra into the stone. Wood release, village embracing roots. Throughout Konoha, wooden structures began to emerge, not as weapons, but as protective frameworks supporting buildings against gravitational attacks and creating evacuation routes for civilians. The technique spread rapidly, converting the village's vulnerability into a structured defense network. Impressive, the Deva Path commented, observing the wooden reinforcements from above. The wood release of Hashirama Senju. Our intelligence indicated you possess this ability, but seeing it at this scale, you truly are the priority target. I'm more than just a target, Naruto replied, appearing before the Deva Path in a swirl of leaves. I'm the one who's going to end this cycle of hatred you're perpetuating, Nagato. You know nothing of hatred, Pain responded coldly, or of true pain. I know more than you think, Naruto countered. About loss, about sacrifice, about the burden of power and the temptation to use it destructively. Their battle began in earnest, a confrontation of philosophical ideals manifested through extraordinary techniques. Pain's 6 paths attacked with perfect coordination, each body utilizing its specific abilities to counter Naruto's approaches. But Naruto had prepared for this encounter, developing techniques specifically designed to address the Rinnegan's known capabilities. When the Prita Path attempted to absorb his chakra, Naruto allowed it to happen, but the chakra it absorbed was infused with natural energy that the path couldn't control, transforming it to stone as a result. When the animal path summoned massive creatures, Naruto countered with his own summoning contract, bringing forth the toads of Mount Myobaku. The battlefield expanded across the village and into the surrounding forests, with both combatants demonstrating power that left veteran shinobi in awe. Throughout the conflict, Naruto maintained a defensive strategy for the village itself. His wood release continuously adapted to Pain's attacks, protecting civilians and infrastructure, while Konoha's other shinobi evacuated non-combatants. Why do you resist so desperately? Pain asked during a momentary pause in their battle. The 9 tails will be extracted eventually. Your death will contribute to true peace. There is no peace built on the corpses of sacrifices, Naruto replied firmly. True peace comes from understanding, from breaking the cycle of hatred rather than perpetuating it through different means. Naive words from someone who hasn't experienced true loss, Pain dismissed. You think I don't understand loss? Naruto questioned. His expression shifted subtly, Hashirama's ancient wisdom momentarily visible in his young features. I have lived 2 lifetimes filled with it. I have seen brothers slaughtered on battlefields, friends turned to enemies, villages reduced to ash. And still I believe in the possibility of peace through understanding rather than domination. This exchange was interrupted by Pain's most devastating attack, a massive Shinra Tensei that overcame even Naruto's protective wood structures, creating a crater where much of Konoha had stood. Only Naruto's foresight in evacuating civilians and his quick creation of underground shelters prevented the attack from becoming a massacre. As dust settled over the destroyed village, Naruto stood in the center of the crater, his sage mode still active, his resolve unshaken. Is this your idea of peace, Nagato? A wasteland where nothing can oppose you? Sometimes creation requires destruction, Pain replied. The world will know pain, and through that shared experience, they will value peace. Then let me show you a different kind of creation, Naruto countered, forming a complex sequence of seals. one that doesn't require destruction as its foundation. Wood release, Genesis rebirth. The ground beneath them trembled as massive roots spread throughout the crater. Unlike his previous techniques, this was not merely the creation of wooden structures, but a fundamental restoration of the land itself. Trees grew with extraordinary speed, their roots stabilizing the broken earth, while their branches formed the frameworks of new buildings. This technique, Naruto explained as the forest rose around them, doesn't just create wood, it accelerates the natural healing process of the earth itself, restoring life where it has been damaged. Pain watched with undisguised amazement as the devastation he had wrought began to reverse, not completely, but substantially. How is this possible? Even the Rinnegan cannot restore life to this extent. Because you focused on the Rinnegan's power to destroy and control, Naruto replied. But true creation comes from harmony with natural energy, not domination of it. Their battle resumed with renewed intensity, with Pain determined to capture Naruto before he could complete the restoration technique. One by one, Naruto neutralized the 6 paths, not through destruction, but through specialized sealing techniques that disabled the chakra receivers controlling each body. Finally, only the Deva path remained, and even its formidable gravitational abilities were waning from overuse. In a desperate final attack, it attempted to restrain Naruto with black receivers, piercing his limbs to immobilize him. Now you will know true pain, the Deva path declared, preparing to extract Naruto's location. But Naruto smiled through his pain. I already understand your pain, Nagato, and now it's time for you to understand mine. With those words, the wood beneath them shifted, branches extending to connect with the chakra receivers embedded in Naruto's body. Instead of rejecting the intrusion, he channeled his own chakra through them, reversing the connection that Pain had established. What are you doing? The Deva path demanded as it felt the unfamiliar chakra entering its system. Creating a bridge, Naruto explained through gritted teeth, between your consciousness and mine, a true meeting of minds, beyond words and physical confrontation. Through this connection, a technique combining elements of Yamanaka clan mind techniques, wood release chakra transmission, and Uzumaki sealing principles, Naruto shared not just his thoughts, but his experiences. Nagato, observing through the Deva path, was suddenly immersed in Naruto's memories, both his own difficult childhood as a Jinchuriki and Hashirama's experiences found in Konoha after generations of warfare. Simultaneously, Naruto received Nagato's memories, the death of his parents, his training under Jiraiya, the loss of his friend Yahiko, and the gradual hardening of his heart as he embraced a more extreme vision of peace. When the connection broke, both were changed by the experience. The Deva path stared at Naruto with new understanding in its ringed eyes. You truly are his successor, Nagato acknowledged through his proxy. Not just in power, but in vision. And you are not beyond redemption, Naruto replied, slowly removing the chakra receivers from his body. Your goal was always peace, Nagato. You just lost sight of the path in your grief. Their conversation continued, not as enemies, but as two individuals bearing the weight of extraordinary power and responsibility. Naruto spoke of Jiraiya's true teachings, of the cyclical nature of vengeance, and of the possibility of breaking that cycle through deliberate choice rather than overwhelming force. In the end, Nagato made a decision that shocked even his closest companion, Konan. Using the outer path, the Rinnegan's power over life and death, he sacrificed himself to restore those who had died during his attack on Konoha. A gesture of faith, he explained as his life ebbed away. In you and in the path you represent. As the last of his strength faded, Nagato addressed Naruto directly. Our teacher believed you were the child of prophecy. I see now that he was right. Take these eyes. He gestured weakly to his Rinnegan, and ensure they don't fall into the wrong hands. The one who controls Akatsuki from the shadows, he seeks them. Who controls Akatsuki? Naruto pressed urgently. But Nagato could only manage one final word before death claimed him, Madara. The aftermath of Pain's invasion brought both restoration and revelation. Those revived by Nagato's sacrifice returned to a village already being rebuilt through Naruto's Genesis rebirth technique. The combination of these restorative forces created a unique opportunity, not just to rebuild what had been lost, but to reimagine Konoha, according to more sustainable, integrated principles. Tsunade, recovered from the coma she had fallen into while protecting villagers during the attack, found herself overseeing a transformation of Konoha, guided by Naruto's vision. The new village incorporated living wood as part of its fundamental architecture, with trees and plant life integrated into buildings rather than cleared to make way for them. "It's like the early days," she commented as they surveyed the emerging structures. "When my grandfather first established the village, he always wanted nature and civilization to exist in harmony rather than opposition. The difference," Naruto noted, "is that this time the integration is literal rather than philosophical. These buildings will grow stronger over time, drawing nutrients from the soil while providing shelter and resources for the population." But while the village recovered, new threats loomed on the horizon. Nagato's final word, Madara, sparked intense investigation by Konoha's intelligence division. The possibility that Madara Uchiha somehow survived his legendary battle with Hashirama seemed impossible, yet the evidence of someone using his name to direct Akatsuki couldn't be ignored. This investigation led to a startling discovery. The masked man known as Tobi within Akatsuki was claiming to be Madara himself. More disturbing still, he had declared his intention to collect all tailed beasts to recreate the 10 tails and implement something called the Infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu that would ensnare the entire world. These revelations coincided with increasing tensions between the major villages. The Raikage of Kumogakure, furious about Akatsuki's capture of his brother Killer B, the Eight Tails Jinchuriki, called for a 5-Kaji summit to address the growing threat. When Tsunade was unable to attend due to her ongoing recovery, she made an unprecedented decision. She sent Naruto as Konoha's representative, with Kakashi and Shikamaru as advisors. "This is irregular," she acknowledged. "Sending someone your age to represent one of the 5 great nations. But your unique perspective on both current events and historical patterns makes you our best choice. Besides," she added with a small smile, "your reputation precedes you." The other Kage will listen to the shinobi who defeated Pain and restored Konoha from ruins. The summit, held in the neutral land of Iron, brought together the 5 most powerful shinobi nations in a rare unified gathering. The Raikage A dominated the early discussions with his forceful personality and demands for immediate action against Akatsuki. When Naruto's turn to speak came, the contrast in approach was striking. Rather than matching the Raikage's intensity, he spoke with measured calm, drawing on Hashirama's diplomatic experience while incorporating his own unique perspective. "The threat we face is not merely Akatsuki as an organization, but the ideology that drives it," he explained. "Someone claiming to be Madara Uchiha has orchestrated these events toward a specific end, the recreation of the 10 tails and implementation of a worldwide genjutsu." "And why should we believe this assessment from a teenager?" the Tsuchikage challenged skeptically. "Because this teenager defeated Pain, the supposed leader of Akatsuki," Gaara interjected, his support for Naruto unwavering, "and because he possesses insights that none of us can claim." "You refer to the rumors that he somehow possesses Hashirama Senju's abilities," the Mizukage noted, studying Naruto with heightened interest. "Is this true?" Rather than answering verbally, Naruto placed his palm on the conference table. From the wooden surface, a small tree grew, its branches forming a precise model of the 10 tails as described in ancient texts, a demonstration of both his wood release and his knowledge of matters that should be beyond his years. "I carry more than just Hashirama's techniques," he confirmed quietly. "I carry his memories of the founding era, including knowledge about the origin of the tailed beasts that has been lost to most of the modern world." This revelation shifted the tone of the summit dramatically. Rather than dismissing Naruto for his youth, the assembled Kage began treating him as a valuable historical resource, someone with first-hand knowledge of events that shaped their current world. "Then tell us," the Raikage demanded, "how do we defeat this Madara if that's truly who we face?" "Not through individual action," Naruto replied firmly. "That's what Akatsuki expects. Divided responses that can be overcome separately. We need what has never been successfully achieved in the shinobi world, genuine unified action across all villages." "You propose an alliance?" the Tsuchikage scoffed. After generations of conflict and mistrust, I propose a shinobi alliance, Naruto confirmed. Not just a temporary ceasefire or conditional cooperation, but a fundamental restructuring of how our villages interact. The very divisions Madara seeks to exploit are what we must overcome. The debate that followed was heated, with centuries of ingrained suspicion and rivalry not easily set aside. But Naruto's unique perspective, simultaneously that of a modern shinobi and a founder from an earlier era, provided a bridge between historical grievances and current necessities. The village system itself was created to end the constant warfare of the clan era, he reminded them. It was always meant to be a step toward greater cooperation, not an endpoint with perpetual conflict between larger units. This alliance represents the natural evolution of what Hashirama and the other founders envisioned. Gradually, the logic of his position won acceptance, if not enthusiastic embrace. The 5 great nations agreed to form the allied shinobi forces, with each village contributing according to their strengths. Gaara, as the youngest Kage, but one with unquestioned battlefield experience, was selected as the commander-in-chief, with Shikaku Nara of Konoha appointed as chief strategist. This historic agreement was nearly derailed when the summit was attacked by Sasuke Uchiha, who had been manipulated by the masked man into believing that the Kage were responsible for the persecution of the Uchiha clan. His goal, to kill the leaders of the shinobi world in revenge for his clan's destruction. What Sasuke hadn't anticipated was Naruto's presence. When the Uchiha burst into the chamber, Chidori crackling around his hand, he found himself facing not just the assembled Kage, but his former teammate, the one person who truly understood the depths of his painter of his manipulation. Sasuke, Naruto acknowledged calmly, stepping between his friend and the Kage. This isn't the path to the truth you seek. Get out of my way, Naruto, Sasuke demanded, his Mangekyo Sharingan blazing. This doesn't concern you. It concerns all of us, Naruto countered. You've been manipulated, Sasuke. The man calling himself Madara has fed you half-truths about the Uchiha massacre to use your vengeance for his own purposes. Lies, Sasuke snarled. I know the truth, that Konoha ordered my brother to slaughter my clan. A partial truth, Naruto acknowledged, shocking both Sasuke and the assembled Kage with this admission. But not the complete story. Itachi was given an impossible choice by forces working from the shadows, forces that the man calling himself Madara was intimately connected to. This confrontation might have devolved into all-out battle if not for the timely arrival of Tobi himself. The masked man appeared through his space-time technique, ostensibly to support Sasuke, but actually to address the assembled leadership of the shinobi world. How convenient, he observed in a deep voice. All the major players gathered in one place. It saves me the trouble of delivering my declaration of war individually. War? The Raikage echoed incredulously. The 4th Great Ninja War, Tobi confirmed. Unless you surrender the remaining Jinchuriki, specifically Killer Bee and Naruto Uzumaki, to me immediately. That won't happen, Gaara stated flatly, sand swirling around him protectively. Then prepare for conflict on a scale none of you have witnessed in your lifetimes, Tobi replied. My forces are ready. Are yours? Before anyone could respond, Naruto stepped forward, studying the masked figure intently. You're not Madara, he stated with quiet certainty. I knew Madara Uchiha, or rather Hashirama did. Your chakra signature, your mannerisms, even your stature, none of them match. For perhaps the first time, the masked man seemed genuinely disconcerted. You speak as if you were Hashirama himself, he observed cautiously. In some ways I am, Naruto replied. Enough to recognize that you're appropriating an identity that isn't yours. The question is, why? What does pretending to be Madara gain you that your true identity would not? Perception is reality in the shinobi world, Tobi responded after a moment's hesitation. The name Madara Uchiha carries weight that opens doors and inspires fear. It's a practical choice. Or a shield, Naruto suggested. A way to hide your true self behind a legendary figure, which makes me wonder, who are you really, and what personal stake do you have in this conflict? Instead of answering, Tobi turned to Sasuke. We're leaving. This confrontation is premature. I'm not finished here, Sasuke objected, still focused on the Kage. Yes, you are, Tobi insisted. There will be other opportunities for revenge. For now, we withdraw. Before they could depart, Naruto made one final attempt to reach his friend. Sasuke, whatever you think you know about Itachi and the Uchiha massacre is incomplete. When you're ready to hear the full truth, not just the parts that fuel your anger, come find me. Sasuke's expression flickered with momentary uncertainty before hardening once more. The next time we meet, Naruto, only one of us will walk away. With that threat hanging in the air, Tobi activated his space-time technique, spiriting himself and Sasuke away before anyone could prevent their escape. In the tense silence that followed, the Tsuchikage turned to Naruto with newfound respect. It seems your assessment was correct. We face not just an organization, but an ideology, one with the power to turn even Konoha's own shinobi against us. And your proposal for an alliance is now our only viable option, the Mizukage added thoughtfully. The preparations for war proceeded with unprecedented cooperation between villages that had been enemies for generations. Training camps were established, with shinobi regrouped according to their abilities rather than their village of origin. Medical units, intelligence divisions, and combat squads were organized under a unified command structure. Naruto, despite his key role in forming the alliance, found himself in an unexpected position. The alliance leadership, concerned about Akatsuki's primary objective of capturing the remaining Jinchuriki, voted to sequester both him and Killer Bee for their protection. This is ridiculous, Naruto objected when informed of the decision. My abilities are needed on the battlefield, not hidden away in some remote location. It's not just about your combat potential, Kakashi explained patiently. It's about denying Akatsuki their ultimate objective. If they obtain the 8 and 9 tails, nothing we do will matter. They'll be able to recreate the 10 tails and implement the infinite Tsukuyomi. So the entire allied shinobi force will fight and potentially die to protect us? Naruto questioned, clearly uncomfortable with this arrangement. They'll fight to protect the world? Tsunade corrected. You and B are just the current focal points of that larger struggle. Reluctantly, Naruto agreed to the plan, but with modifications of his own design. He would not simply hide passively, but would use the time to complete his mastery of both the Nine Tails chakra and the perfect integration of Sage Mode with Wood Release. The secluded training location selected was the Island Turtle, a massive living creature that served as an ecosystem unto itself, constantly moving through the ocean to avoid detection. Here, Naruto and Killer Bee formed an unlikely partnership, the exuberant rapper from Kumogakure helping Naruto develop a new approach to his relationship with the Nine Tails. You've got to face the fox directly, yo! Bee advised in his characteristic rhyming style. Can't dance around it no more, that's the truth, don't you know? Following this guidance, Naruto entered his inner mindscape to confront the Nine Tails. But unlike previous confrontations, he approached not as a captor or user of the fox's power, but as someone seeking genuine partnership. I know your name, Naruto said as he stood before the massive gate that contained the tailed beast. Kurama, the name given to you by the Sage of Six Paths himself. The Nine Tails' red eyes widened in genuine surprise. How do you know that name? Even Hashirama never knew it. I learned it from the memories of your siblings, Naruto explained. When I helped stabilize Gaara after Shukaku's extraction. The tailed beasts are not just sources of chakra to be exploited. You're sentient beings with your own histories and identities. Pretty words, Kurama growled suspiciously. What do you want from me, human? A partnership, Naruto replied simply. Not master and servant, not prisoner and jailer, but two beings with shared goals working together. And why would I partner with a human? The fox demanded. Your kind has imprisoned me for generations, passed me from one Jinchuriki to another like a weapon to be wielded. Because the alternative is worse, Naruto said frankly. If Akatsuki captures us, you'll be absorbed into the Ten Tails, losing your individual identity completely. Whatever freedom you have now would vanish entirely. This pragmatic argument resonated with Kurama more than appeals to cooperation might have. The fox considered Naruto thoughtfully, noting the changes in the young shinobi since their first encounters years earlier. You're different from my previous Jinchuriki, Kurama finally acknowledged. Even your mother, for all her strength, saw me primarily as a threat to be contained. You see me as something else. As a being deserving of respect, Naruto confirmed. Hashirama always believed that the tailed beast should eventually be free, not controlled. I share that belief, though I recognize it may not be immediately achievable. After much negotiation, they reached an unprecedented agreement. Kurama would share his power willingly, and in exchange, Naruto would work toward a future where the fox would eventually be released rather than passed to another Jinchuriki after his death. This new partnership manifested as a transformed state unlike anything seen in previous Jinchuriki. Naruto's Nine Tails Chakra mode combined the raw power of Kurama with the precision control of wood release and the natural energy sensitivity of Sage mode, creating a harmonious integration rather than the traditional forced subjugation. While Naruto completed this training, the Fourth Great Ninja War began in earnest. Akatsuki, revealing the full extent of their preparations, deployed an army of white Zetsu clones, artificial soldiers created through a combination of Hashirama's cells and unknown techniques. More disturbingly, Kabuto Yakushi, having mastered Orochimaru's impure world reincarnation, provided a legion of reanimated legendary shinobi from all eras. The allied shinobi forces found themselves battling not just against enemies, but against their own revered predecessors and loved ones, forced to fight the very legends who had built their villages and traditions. Despite the secrecy surrounding Naruto's location, his acute sensitivity to natural energy allowed him to sense the massive chakra disturbances of the war from the island turtle. The suffering of his comrades, the massive loss of life, the perversion of nature through the white Zetsu army, all of it registered in his consciousness like physical pain. "I can't stay here while everyone fights," he finally declared to Killer Bee. "My abilities could save thousands of lives." "The strategy's solid, can't deny," Bee replied seriously. "But if we're caught, everyone could die." "There's a middle path," Naruto decided after careful consideration. "One that allows me to contribute without exposing myself directly to capture." Using a technique he had developed by studying both the wood clone method and the properties of Hashirama's cells, Naruto created multiple wood clones of extraordinary durability and independence. Unlike standard clones, these could operate at vast distances from the original while maintaining a portion of his full abilities. Wood release, Army of the Flowering Trees. He named the technique as 20 perfect copies of himself stood ready. Each clone contained approximately 20% of his chakra, a tremendous amount in itself, along with the ability to enter Sage mode independently. "I'll remain here physically," Naruto explained to a skeptical Bee, "while my clones join different divisions of the allied forces. This way, I can contribute significantly without risking direct capture." This strategy proved transformative for the early battles of the war. The sudden appearance of wood release-wielding Naruto clones on multiple fronts provided crucial support to allied divisions facing overwhelming odds. Their ability to create defensive structures, heal injuries through specialized pollen techniques, and counter the white Zetsu with techniques specifically effective against Hashirama's cells turned several near defeats into victories. Most significantly, the clones could identify white Zetsu infiltrators who had copied the appearance of allied shinobi, a capability that prevented potentially catastrophic sabotage within the allied forces. However, this intervention did not go unnoticed by the war's true orchestrator. The Masked Man, still calling himself Madara despite Naruto's public challenge to this identity, recognized the wood release techniques immediately and adjusted his strategy accordingly. Rather than continuing a war of attrition against the allied forces, he launched a targeted offensive against the island turtle itself, accompanied by the reanimated Jinchuriki of the first 6-tailed beasts, each controlled through chakra receivers similar to those used by Pain. The ensuing battle pushed both Naruto and Killer Bee to their absolute limits. The reanimated Jinchuriki, able to access their tailed beast transformations without risk of death, presented a unique challenge that even their combined abilities struggled to counter. During this confrontation, a crucial revelation occurred. As Naruto engaged the Masked Man directly, a perfectly timed combined attack from himself and Killer Bee managed to damage the orange spiral mask, revealing a portion of the face beneath. "I know you," Naruto gasped in genuine shock. "You're Obito Uchiha, Kakashi's teammate who supposedly died during the Third Great Ninja War. The exposed Obito faltered momentarily, clearly unsettled by being recognized. How could you possibly know that? You weren't even born when I died. Hashirama's memories include briefings about all significant Konoha shinobi, Naruto explained, pressing his momentary advantage, including a promising young Uchiha who was crushed by rocks while saving his teammate, but whose body was never recovered. Hashirama's memories, Obito repeated, a new calculation visible in his exposed eye. So the rumors are true. You're more than just his power. You carry his consciousness as well. Not exactly, Naruto clarified, maintaining his combat stance. I have his memories, his abilities, but I am still Naruto Uzumaki, just as you are still Obito Uchiha, not Madara, no matter how much you've tried to become him. This exchange shook Obito more than any physical attack had. The careful identity he had constructed over decades was being unraveled by someone who shouldn't have possessed such specific knowledge. It changes nothing, he finally declared, readjusting his damaged mask. Whether I am Madara or Obito, the infinite Tsukuyomi remains the only path to true peace. A world of dreams is better than this endless cycle of hatred and war. Is that what Rin would have wanted? Naruto asked quietly. The mention of his childhood love, whose death had been the catalyst for Obito's descent into darkness, visibly staggered the masked Uchiha. You know nothing about Rin, he snarled. I know she sacrificed herself to protect Konoha, Naruto replied, that she chose death over being used as a weapon against her village. How does your plan honor that sacrifice? This psychological confrontation might have created an opening for meaningful dialogue, if not for the arrival of reinforcements, both for the Allied forces and for Obito. The most shocking of these was the appearance of the actual Madara Uchiha, reanimated through Kabuto's impure world reincarnation in his prime condition. So, the legendary Uchiha observed as he surveyed the battlefield, this is what remains of my plan. A broken boy wearing my name like a mask, fighting against a child carrying Hashirama's memories. His laugh was cold and dismissive. How utterly pathetic. The true Madara's power immediately shifted the battle dynamics. Unlike other reanimated shinobi, he seemed to have broken free of Kabuto's control almost immediately, acting according to his own will and agenda. His perfect Susanoo alone was enough to change the tide of combat, its massive energy construct dwarfing even the fully transformed tailed beasts. Recognizing the existential threat that Madara presented, Naruto made a tactical decision. His original self would confront Madara directly, while his remaining wood clones would continue supporting the various battle divisions and evacuating the injured. This isn't the reunion I expected, Naruto called to Madara as they faced each other across the churned battlefield. But perhaps it's fitting. Reunion? Madara scoffed. You may have Hashirama's cells and techniques, boy, but you are not him. Not entirely, Naruto agreed, activating the combined Nine-Tails Chakra mode and Sage mode, golden energy surrounding him like a flame. But enough to remember what you once were, Madara, before hatred consumed you. You were a visionary who wanted peace as desperately as Hashirama did. Peace through strength, Madara corrected, through a unified world under singular control. Hashirama's naive approach of trust and cooperation was always doomed to failure, as the current state of the world proves. Their battle was cataclysmic, perhaps the most significant clash of legendary powers since the original Valley of the End confrontation. Madara's perfect Susanoo against Naruto's sage art would release. True several thousand hands transformed the landscape itself, creating devastation visible from miles away. Throughout the exchange, Naruto maintained a dual approach, combating Madara physically while continuously attempting to reach the person behind the legend, the friend that Hashirama had never given up on, even at the end. You speak like him, Madara observed during a brief pause in their battle. The same irritating optimism, the same refusal to accept reality. Reality is what we make it, Naruto countered. That's what Hashirama understood and what you lost sight of. The world isn't fixed in patterns of hatred. It can change if enough people choose a different path. Childish idealism, Madara dismissed, though something in his tone suggested the words affected him more than he admitted. Some truths are immutable. Humanity will always return to conflict. The cycle is unbreakable except through absolute control. As their battle continued, a parallel confrontation was occurring between Obito and Kakashi, former teammates now on opposite sides of an ideological divide as profound as that between Hashirama and Madara generations earlier. The war reached its climax when, despite the Allied forces' best efforts, Obito and Madara succeeded in capturing portions of the 8 and 9 Tails chakra, enough to begin the revival of the 10 Tails. The monstrous entity, dormant since the era of the Sage of Six Paths, began to materialize on the battlefield. In this moment of crisis, Naruto made a decision that would alter the course of not just the battle, but shinobi history itself. Drawing on the deepest understanding of both Hashirama's techniques and the fundamental nature of chakra, he initiated a technique that had never been attempted before. Wood release, world tree unification, he declared, placing his palms on the ground. Unlike his previous techniques that created wooden structures or influenced existing plant life, this jutsu connected directly with the natural energy of the planet itself. Massive roots spread from his position, extending across the entire battlefield and beyond, linking every living thing in the area into a single network of shared consciousness and purpose. Through this network, Naruto established a direct chakra connection with every member of the allied shinobi forces, not to control them, but to share with them both his power and his understanding. For a brief, transcendent moment, thousands of individual shinobi experienced unity beyond village boundaries or historical grievances. They saw through each other's eyes, felt each other's pain and determination, and understood on a profound level that they were fighting not just against Madara and Obito, but for a future where such conflicts would no longer be necessary. This shared consciousness had a particularly powerful effect on Obito, experiencing directly the hopes, dreams, and fundamental humanity of those he had dismissed as living in a worthless reality. His carefully constructed worldview began to crumble. This is what Rin fought for. Naruto's voice reached him through the connection. Not a dream world where nothing matters, but a real world where people choose to understand each other despite their differences. The unified allied forces, temporarily empowered by portions of Nine Tails chakra distributed through Naruto's network, launched a coordinated offensive against the emerging Ten Tails. Their synchronized attack, guided by Shikaku Nara's strategic genius and empowered by Naruto's shared chakra, successfully disrupted the beast's formation. This disruption created an opportunity that Naruto immediately recognized. With the Ten Tails temporarily vulnerable, he implemented the second phase of his strategy, a sealing technique that drew upon both Uzumaki traditions and Hashirama's unique approach to tailed beast containment. Sage art, wood release, tailed beast purification seal, he intoned, creating a massive wooden structure that began to separate the constituent tailed beasts from the partially formed Ten Tails. This technique didn't attempt to capture or control the tailed beasts, but rather to liberate them from the forced unification, to restore their individual identities and consciousness. It was a fundamentally different approach than any previously attempted, rooted in respect for the beasts as sentient beings rather than mere sources of power. Madara, recognizing the existential threat to his plans, redoubled his efforts to stop Naruto. "You understand nothing," he raged, his perfect Susanoo slashing at the wooden ceiling structure. The Ten Tails is the origin of all chakra, the primal force that will remake this flawed world. It's also the prison of Kaguya-Otsutsuki, Naruto countered, revealing knowledge that shocked even Madara. The rabbit goddess who consumed the fruit of the god tree and became the first wielder of chakra, the being that the Sage of Six Paths, your ancestor and mine, sealed away for the safety of humanity. This revelation staggered Madara momentarily. How could you possibly know that name? Even I only discovered it in the most ancient Uchiha tablets. Because Hashirama knew more than he ever revealed, Naruto explained, maintaining his sealing technique despite the tremendous strain. The Senju and Uzumaki preserved different fragments of the sage's knowledge than the Uchiha did. Only by bringing them together can the complete truth be understood. As the sealing technique progressed, the battlefield became a kaleidoscope of incredible energies. The Ten Tails fighting to maintain its cohesion, Madara and Obito struggling to retain control, and the allied forces supporting Naruto's unprecedented attempt to fundamentally alter the nature of the conflict. In a desperate gambit, Madara attempted to implement his final plan, to reflect the infinite Tsukuyomi off the moon using the Rinne Sharingan. But the incomplete nature of the Ten Tails and the disruption caused by Naruto's sealing technique prevented the Genjutsu from fully forming. The turning point came not through raw power, but through connection. Obito, already wavering from experiencing the shared consciousness of the allied forces, found himself confronted by Kakashi in a dimension created by their shared Mangekyo Sharingan ability. Their conversation, private, intense, and laden with years of unresolved grief and betrayal, led to Obito's momentous decision to reject Madara's path. In a stunning reversal, he turned against his former mentor, using his control over the Ten Tails to assist Naruto's sealing technique rather than oppose it. "This isn't the world Rin died for," Obito declared as he redirected his considerable power. "And it isn't the one I want to create either." She believed in a future built through sacrifice and love, not illusion and control. With Obito's assistance, the sealing technique accelerated dramatically. The Ten Tails began to separate into its constituent tailed beasts, each regaining their individual consciousness and will. As they emerged, Naruto established direct communication with each beast, reminiscent of how the Sage of Six Paths had originally related to them, as a friend and guide rather than a master. "You remember me, don't you?" he asked them collectively. "Not just from our recent encounters, but from long ago, when you were newly formed from the Ten Tails by the sage himself." Kurama, speaking for his siblings, confirmed this impossible knowledge. "You carry the sage's chakra signature, just as you carry Hashirama's memories. How is this possible?" "Some connections transcend time," Naruto replied simply, "just as your bonds as siblings have endured centuries of separation and conflict. This recognition created an unprecedented alliance, the nine-tailed beasts choosing to fight alongside the allied forces against Madara, who now represented a threat to their newly regained freedom and individuality. Madara, finding himself suddenly opposed not just by the allied forces, but by the very powers he had sought to control, revealed his final contingency. Using the Rinnegan's unique abilities, he attempted to absorb the chakra of the free-tailed beasts directly into himself, becoming the Ten Tails Jinchuriki through an alternative method. The battle entered its final phase, Madara partially successful in absorbing immense chakra against Naruto, supported by the remaining free-tailed beasts and the united allied forces. It was a transcended traditional combat, becoming almost metaphysical in nature as fundamental philosophies about the world and humanity's place in it clashed alongside physical techniques. "Even if you defeat me," Madara declared as they exchanged devastating techniques, "you cannot defeat the truth I represent. Humanity will always return to conflict. Your unity is temporary, a response to an external threat that will dissipate once that threat is gone." "Perhaps," Naruto acknowledged, surprising Madara with this concession. "Unity requires constant effort and renewal. Peace isn't a state you achieve once and maintain effortlessly. It's a process, a choice that each generation must make anew. Then it will inevitably fail," Madara insisted. "One generation, perhaps not yours but eventually, will choose differently. And then another will choose again," Naruto countered. "That's the beauty of a world where choice exists, Madara. The possibility of failure is the price of freedom, a price worth paying." Their philosophical exchange continued alongside their battle, neither able to completely overcome the other. Madara's power was godlike, but Naruto's connection to natural energy, the tailed beasts, and the collective will of the allied forces provided a counterbalance that prevented total victory for either side. The resolution came from an unexpected source. Black Zetsu, long assumed to be a creation and extension of Madara's will, revealed its true nature, an entity created by Kaguya Otsutsuki herself, working across centuries to engineer her revival. Using Madara's weakened state, it betrayed him, converting his body into a vessel for Kaguya's return. The emergence of the rabbit goddess herself, the original wielder of chakra and mother of the Sage of Six Paths, transformed the conflict entirely. Her power dwarfed even Madara's, and her goals were more alien and absolute, the reclamation of all chakra as her personal property, with humanity reduced to empty husks within her infinite Tsukuyomi. Faced with this existential threat, former enemies found themselves allied by necessity. Sasuke, who had arrived on the battlefield pursuing his own agenda regarding the future of the shinobi world, joined forces with Naruto against Kaguya. The last Uchiha and the reincarnation of Hashirama, once again fighting side by side against a common enemy, echoed historical patterns while simultaneously breaking them. The battle against Kaguya transcended normal dimensions, taking place across multiple realities created and controlled by the Rabbit Goddess. Throughout this impossible conflict, Naruto maintained the connection established through the World Tree unification, allowing the allied forces to contribute even across dimensional boundaries. "This is what Hashirama always understood," Naruto explained to Sasuke as they coordinated their attacks. "True strength comes from connection and mutual support, not isolation and individual power." "Save the philosophy for after we survive," Sasuke retorted, though with less hostility than such comments once carried. Their combined assault, Naruto's 6-path Sage Mode enhanced wood release and Sasuke's perfect Susanoo, managed to pressure Kaguya, but sealing such a primal entity required something more. Drawing on knowledge from both Hashirama's memories and the shared wisdom of the tailed beasts, Naruto conceived a sealing technique that would not merely imprison Kaguya, but address the fundamental imbalance her existence represented. "Sage Art, Genesis Restoration Seal," he declared, creating a wooden structure unlike any previously seen, a flowering tree that represented the original God tree, but infused with balanced natural energy, rather than the corrupted form Kaguya had originally encountered. This technique did not seek to destroy Kaguya, or merely seal her away temporarily, but to restore balance, to separate her from the chakra she had stolen, and return it to its rightful circulation within the natural world. It was a healing rather than a conquering, a restoration rather than a subjugation. The implementation required perfect coordination between Naruto, Sasuke, and the recently freed Obito, who sacrificed the last of his strength to create the dimensional opening necessary for the technique's completion. As the seal activated, Kaguya found herself drawn into the flowering tree, her consciousness separated from the vast chakra she had accumulated. "This isn't an ending," Naruto told her as the sealing progressed. "It's a rebalancing. You were never meant to possess all chakra. It was meant to be shared, to evolve through connection rather than control." With a final surge of combined power from all participants, the allied forces, the tailed beasts, and the descendants of the Sage of Six Paths, the sealing completed. Kaguya's consciousness returned to a dormant state, while the chakra she had accumulated dispersed back into natural circulation throughout the world. As the dimensional distortions faded and the allied forces found themselves returned to the normal world, an unexpected calm settled over the battlefield. The White Zetsu army, without Kaguya's will to animate them, crumbled into ordinary matter. The reanimated shinobi, their purpose fulfilled, found their souls released from their temporary vessels. In this moment of hard-won peace, Naruto turned to address the assembled allied forces, tens of thousands of shinobi from all villages who had fought together against extinction. "We stand at a crossroads," he began, his voice carrying across the battlefield without the need for amplification. "For the first time in shinobi history, all our villages have fought as one. The question now is, do we return to our separate paths, or do we recognize that unity against a common threat can become unity toward a common purpose?" The silence that followed was thoughtful rather than resistant. Decades of ingrained suspicion and rivalry couldn't be erased by a single battle, but the experience of shared consciousness through the World Tree unification had created an opening for change that had never existed before. "The village system itself was created as a step toward peace," Naruto continued, "a way to end the constant clan warfare that had claimed so many lives. But it was always meant to be a beginning, not an end point. The natural evolution is toward greater cooperation, toward a world where children don't grow up training to kill their counterparts from other villages." His words resonated particularly strongly with the younger shinobi present, those who had grown up in the relatively peaceful interlude between the Third and Fourth Great Ninja Wars, who had formed friendships across village boundaries during the Chunin exams and joint missions. The Kage gathered together at the forefront of their respective forces, exchanged measured looks. It was Gaara who spoke first, his position as both the youngest Hokage and the commander of the allied forces giving his words special weight. "We have seen what unity can accomplish," he stated simply. "And we have experienced, through Naruto's technique, what it means to truly understand one another beyond words. I believe we should maintain the alliance, not just as a military cooperation, but as the foundation for a new relationship between our villages." One by one, the other Hokage expressed cautious agreement. Even the Tsuchikage, the most traditionally minded of the group, acknowledged the practical benefits of continued cooperation. "The economic advantages alone make it worth considering," he noted pragmatically. "And perhaps our grandchildren will grow up in a world where the village you're born in doesn't determine who your enemies are." This tentative agreement might have represented the extent of change possible in a single moment, an incremental step toward a different future. But Sasuke Uchiha, who had been silent throughout the exchange, suddenly stepped forward. "It's not enough," he declared flatly. "This alliance merely preserves the existing power structure with minor adjustments. The fundamental problems remain: the hidden agendas, the classified missions, the continuing existence of institutions like Root that operate in darkness." "What are you suggesting?" Tsunade asked cautiously. "Revolution," Sasuke replied, his Rinnegan and Sharingan active. "A complete dismantling of the current system, the elimination of the 5 Kage positions, and the creation of a single united shinobi government with myself as its sole leader, bearing all hatred and responsibility." A tense silence fell over the gathered shinobi. Sasuke's words represented the opposite extreme from the incremental approach the Kage had been discussing. Not evolution, but upheaval. Not shared responsibility, but concentrated power. "That approach has been tried before," Naruto observed quietly, stepping toward his friend. "By Madara, by Pain, by Kaguya herself. Control from above, peace through power. It has failed each time. Not because the individuals pursuing it lacked strength or conviction, but because the approach itself is fundamentally flawed." "And your alternative?" Sasuke challenged. "Committees and compromises while the root problems fester beneath the surface? How many more Uchiha massacres will occur in the name of village security?" "None," Naruto replied firmly. "Because we will acknowledge the mistakes of the past openly rather than burying them. Because we will create systems of transparency and accountability that make such actions impossible." He looked directly at the assembled Hokage. "That is the commitment I ask of each village leader. Not just cooperation in matters of mutual benefit, but a fundamental dedication to ending the shadow practices that have perpetuated cycles of hatred and revenge." What followed was not a physical battle between Naruto and Sasuke, as many feared, but something perhaps more difficult: an honest, public reckoning with the darkest aspects of shinobi governance. The Uchiha massacre, the experiments on children in various villages, the assassination missions carried out against political rather than military targets, all were acknowledged, not to assign blame, but to ensure such practices would not continue in the world they were building. This transparency was painful for many, particularly the older generation of leaders who had participated in or sanctioned such actions. But it was also cathartic, releasing festering wounds that had poisoned inter-village relations for decades. Through this process, Sasuke's position gradually shifted, not because he abandoned his desire for fundamental change, but because he began to see the possibility of achieving it through means other than imposed revolution. "Your approach requires trust," he finally said to Naruto after days of intense negotiation. "Trust that leaders will voluntarily relinquish power and change practices that have benefited their villages for generations." "Yes," Naruto acknowledged, "and it will fail sometimes. There will be setbacks and betrayals, but each success builds the foundation for the next, creating momentum toward a different kind of world." "And if it fails completely?" Sasuke pressed. "Then we try again," Naruto replied simply. "With different methods if necessary, but always with the same goal. A world where children aren't sacrificed for political expedience, where clan identity doesn't determine destiny, where cooperation is valued above dominance." In the end, what emerged was neither Sasuke's revolutionary vision nor a mere continuation of the status quo, but something new, a shinobi union that maintained the cultural identity of individual villages while creating shared institutions for conflict resolution, economic cooperation, and educational exchange. Central to this new structure was the principle of transparency, with each village agreeing to end covert operations against other members and to submit disputes to a council representing all shinobi nations. More radical still was the agreement to gradually transition from military-focused village structures toward more balanced communities where shinobi arts would continue, but not dominate all aspects of governance and education. This is what Hashirama truly wanted, Naruto explained during the formal establishment of the Union. Not just an end to constant warfare, but a world where shinobi skills could be redirected toward protection and creation rather than destruction, where the extraordinary abilities we possess serve life rather than death. In the years that followed, this vision gradually became reality. The transition wasn't without challenges. Entrenched interests resisted change, and generations of distrust couldn't be erased overnight. But the momentum toward a different kind of shinobi world proved surprisingly resilient, particularly among the younger generation who had experienced both the horrors of the Fourth War and the possibilities revealed through Naruto's World Tree unification. Naruto himself continued to evolve, his unique combination of abilities making him a natural bridge between the traditional shinobi world and whatever would follow it. His wood release techniques, once primarily weapons of war, were increasingly applied to environmental restoration, healing, and sustainable development. The tailed beasts, freed from forced unification and recognized as sentient beings with their own rights, became partners rather than weapons in this transition. Many chose to maintain connections with human Jinchuriki, but as allies rather than prisoners, a relationship exemplified by Naruto and Kurama, whose partnership had evolved into genuine friendship. Sasuke's path took him away from the villages for extended periods, his need to process his own trauma and reassess his understanding of the world, leading him on solitary journeys. But he remained connected to Konoha through bonds that had proven stronger than ideology or ambition, particularly his relationships with Naruto and Sakura, who represented the possibility of belonging without surrendering individuality. As for the legacy of Hashirama within Naruto, it too continued to evolve. The memories remained, providing valuable historical context and technical knowledge, but they increasingly felt like a library he could consult rather than a second consciousness sharing his mind. He was, first and foremost, Naruto Uzumaki, shaped by Hashirama's influence but not defined by it. "Do you ever wish you could speak with him directly?" Sakura asked once, during a quiet moment of reflection. With Hashirama, I mean, to ask him what he thinks of what you've accomplished. Naruto considered the question thoughtfully. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I think I already know what he would say, that the world we're building together is better than the one he could create alone, that the true purpose of one generation is to provide a foundation for the next to build upon, not to dictate the exact shape of that building." He smiled, looking out over Konoha, a village transformed by both devastation and renewal. Its architecture now a harmonious blend of traditional structures and living wood, a physical manifestation of the integration of past and future. Hashirama was never meant to solve all the problems of the shinobi world, he continued. He was meant to take the first step away from endless clan warfare. We're taking the next steps now, moving towards something he could envision but not create in his lifetime. And what comes after us? Sakura wondered. What will the next generation build on the foundation we're creating? Something we can't fully imagine, Naruto replied with certainty. And that's exactly as it should be. The greatest gift we can give them isn't a perfect world, but the freedom and tools to create their own vision of one. As he spoke, a small tree grew spontaneously from the soil beside them, not through conscious technique, but as a natural response to the harmonious chakra Naruto now emanated unconsciously. Its branches reached upward, strong and flexible, ready to weather whatever storms might come, while continuing its steady growth toward the light. Like that tree, the world Naruto and his generation were creating remained a work in progress, neither Hashirama's original vision nor something completely disconnected from it, but a natural evolution shaped by new understanding and experiences. It was a living legacy, adapting to changing conditions while maintaining its essential nature. The belief that cooperation offered a better path than conflict, that understanding could triumph over hatred, and that even the deepest wounds could heal with proper care and time. In this ongoing creation, Naruto found his true purpose, not as a reincarnation fulfilling an ancient destiny, but as a bridge between worlds, carrying forward what was valuable from the past, while opening pathways to a future limited only by imagination and the courage to pursue it.
The boy once scorned as a demon had become the peace his predecessor only dreamed of. Where Hashirama built a village, Naruto united a world. The God of Shinobi had returned, and this time he got it right.